case and penalty of law.
Yes.
All right.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
I'm Ron Schnell.
And what is your current job title, Mr. Schnell?
I'm a director at Berkeley Research Group.
And could you briefly describe your educational background since high school?
I have a master's degree in computer science.
Do you have an undergraduate degree?
I do not.
And can you explain to the jury why not?
When I was a kid, there was a lot of publicity about me because I was a professor at NYU. When I was 14, NYU actually offered me to go into their freshman class when I was 14, but I decided that I wanted to experience the social aspect of high school, so I turned them down, but by the time I got to college, they skipped me from undergraduate to graduate.
So when did you receive your master's degree from Syracuse University?
It wasn't until 2008, actually.
And why wasn't it until 2008?
So because of my previous background while I was at Syracuse, including I did work at MIT in the artificial intelligence lab for the two founders of artificial intelligence, Patrick Winston and Marvin Minsky. I was immediately lured to industry even while I was in graduate school, and eventually they offer you enough money where you have to take them up on it.
So when you were lured away from Syracuse University, what did you do?
I worked at Bell Labs on something called the Unix operating system.
Who is this guy?
Unix is an operating system, which is the core of the computer, what makes everything work. Microsoft Windows is an operating system. Mac OS is an operating system. You may have heard of Linux, which is, Unix was the predecessor to Linux. So I worked on the kernel of the Unix operating system at Bell Labs.
And when was that approximately? What year?
1986.
Okay. And how long did you work at Bell Labs?
A couple of years.
And what did you do after Bell Labs?
After that, I was lured away to IBM. So I worked at IBM on their version of the Unix operating system, which was called AIX. Also working on the kernel.
Who brought this guy in?
Other programmers working on the kernel.
And can you just briefly explain what the kernel is?
Right, the kernel is the center of the operating system, so it actually controls the piece of software that controls the whole computer. So it gets down to the bit level where it's actually really, everything that goes on in the computer has to go through the kernel.
Okay. And what did you do after IBM?
After IBM, I founded a startup company.
What was the name of that startup company?
It was called Secure Online Systems.
And what did Secure Online Systems do?
It was a company that wrote software for mainframe computers running the various versions of the Unix operating system.
And were there any other investors in Secure Online Systems, Inc.?
Yeah, my business partner in that was Sylvester.
Johnny's paying attention.
And what eventually happened to Secure Online Systems?
Well, it was, as I said, a software product that ran on mainframe computers running Unix. And we actually completed the product and it ran very well, but mainframes running Unix kind of ceased to exist back then, so we had to shut it down.
So what did you do after the company shut down?
Hey, Johnny looks like he's paying attention to this guy.
Sun Microsystems, working on their version of Unix, which is called Solaris, also working on the kernel.
And approximately how long were you there at Sun?
Approximately 5 years.
Questa qua sembra più interessante. This guy looks more interesting.
You also work for Drivers Aces, Inc.?
Right. Coincident with that, I also founded another startup called Driver Aces, and we wrote what are called device drivers to run on the Unix operating systems. A device driver actually teaches the computer how to talk to hardware devices, so it also runs within the kernel.
Have you founded any other startups?
Yes.
And what was the other startup? What was at least one of the other startups?
So the last startup I founded was called mailcall.com, M-A-I-L, and that was a startup that allowed you to read and manage your email on your cellular phone before there were smartphones. So a computerized voice would read you your email, and you could speak a reply into the phone or send it to a fax machine, basically let you manage your email on the road.
And what happened to mailcall.com?
I sold that to a public company in 2000.
And what'd you do after that?
After that, I ended up working at Equifax, one of the 3 credit bureaus in the United States, running software development for their internet marketing division.
And how long were you in that position?
Until 2005.
What happened to this guy? His camera froze. His camera just died on him. I don't know who brought in this guy. If it's Amber team or Johnny's team. I wonder if it's, because basically it's a guy with a technical background. So probably they're gonna either try to justify if the metadata is correct, which would be actually quite interesting. Otherwise, I don't know why this guy is here, honestly. Yeah, I mean, if this is from the camp of Amber Heard and they're trying to justify the metadata, that definitely doesn't look good for Johnny if those pictures, they match the date, But then again, we want to know the truth. But let's not jump to conclusion. Let's see if there is going to be like a cross-examination of this guy or... because I assume he's being questioned by Amber Camp, so to speak. I don't know what happened. I think something happened here. That the stream is live. Here we go. The problem with the camera. So we don't know what happened. I think they're rebooting the camera. Even the computer, even the
environment. Although since COVID, I haven't been doing that.
And have you published any scholarly articles?
Yes, I have 2 published articles. One related to computer security, and another relating to antitrust enforcement using technology.
All right, this guy is qualified.
And
Let's
what experience
move
do you have in statistical or forensic analysis of social media?
A bunch of the consulting work I've done involves analyzing data from social media. Most of them have been consulting for litigation. Some of them are consulting for non-litigation. Yeah.
I like data
and does that
too.
work both in civil and criminal matters?
Yes.
I want to see where this is going.
A bit more in terms of what you've performed regarding statistical or forensic analysis of social media.
I can't talk about the specific cases because I haven't testified on them, and some of them are awaiting indictment, most likely. But in general, it's really the same sort of stuff I've been doing here, analyzing data from the social networks.
And what social media platforms have you performed forensic analysis?
All of the major ones.
And what are the major ones?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit.
How much of your expert work is for plaintiffs versus work for defendants?
Well, I don't consider myself working for either plaintiff or defendant. I take my role as an independent expert extremely seriously. But looking at whose counsel has hired me over the 9 or so years I've been doing this, it's almost exactly equal.
And how many times have you been a consulting expert?
Including litigation and non-litigation, hundreds.
How many times have you been qualified in court, arbitration, or in sworn court testimony to provide expert testimony?
8 times.
Have you ever been disqualified as an expert by a court?
No.
Do you believe that your testimony will be helpful in assisting the jury understand the facts of this case?
I do.
Your Honor, at this time, I tender Mr. Schnell as an expert in the fields of statistical and forensic analysis of social media.
Any objection?
Your Honor, can we be heard?
Do you want to voir dire?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can voir dire.
Thanks. Sir, my name's Wayne Dennison. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You made here an analysis of certain tweets and hashtags, right?
Right.
And you made no effort to connect those tweets and hashtags to the statements being
Okay.
made by Adam Waldman.
I'll sustain the objection. The voir dire is just for his qualifications as an expert.
Can we be heard, Your Honor?
If you want to come forward,
Thank you.
that's fine.
Well, that's interesting. Anyway, I was hoping for metadata, but I don't think we're going to get any metadata. We're just going to get a bunch of retweet tweets or whatever statistic on those things, which, yeah, well, let's see where it goes. I don't want to say anything yet, but I was just hoping like they were going to show us some metadata of those pictures. You know, that's actually the thing that we want to know. But then again, that would have been too optimistic from my side, because I don't think they will ever show the metadata of those pictures for real. What is the real metadata? And also, I think it might also be corrupted or changed with hacking programs. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this guy is there like the other guy for Johnny Depp, you know, like the guy of the Google Analytics. It's like probably a similar dude, like just there to prove that through the tweets and analytics of statistic,
All right, so
she
Mr.
was
Dennison, do you have any
defamed
objection
by
that
the
he's moving
tweets
in as
of
an expert?
Johnny Depp and BS, you know, that kind of
All right,
stuff.
then I'll move him in as an expert in statistical and forensic analysis of social media. Okay? Yes, sir, your question.
Mr. Schnell, what were you asked to do in this matter?
So I was asked to do several things. I used the official Twitter APIs to bring in data over several different time spans. Initially, it was April of 2020 to January of 2021, and analyzed various hashtags and things like that.
And what is
Thank you,
significant about
Susie.
April 2020?
I understand that April 2020 is related to the alleged defamatory statements by Mr. Waldman.
And you talked about APIs. What does that mean?
So API stands for Application Programming Interface. That is a service that's provided by companies like Twitter so that professionals can write programs to query Twitter to ask for various things. In this case, I use two of their APIs. One of them is called the Search API, and that allows you to give search terms, and it will return all the tweets containing those search terms through a certain date range. The other one is called a Counts API, and I use that, again, through a certain date range to return any tweet that contained that hashtag.
And
I should add that it may not be obvious why you need to do this, but if you just do a search on Twitter itself, it's not going to return everything. It's going to return a subset of what is out there. But using these APIs, which you pay a lot of money for, they sort of guarantee that you'll almost guarantee that you'll get everything.
And you mentioned hashtags. I know a lot of people know what those are, but for those who don't, what's a hashtag?
Well, hashtags are a function of Twitter. They're really just part of the text of a tweet or a profile, and it's convenient to put things in hashtags so that when somebody searches, they can search for a particular hashtag and it'll come up.
And did you choose particular hashtags to search for?
I did.
And how did you choose which hashtags to use?
Well, initially I was looking at tweets that would be negative towards Misheard. So I looked through tweets that were negative towards Misheard, and I found that a super majority of them were using one of four different hashtags.
And so overall, what did your analysis find regarding negative hashtags about Misheard from April 2020 until the end of January 2021?
Well, there were over 1,243,000 and change uses of those hashtags during that time frame you just mentioned.
And did you perform an analysis of the negative hashtags from April 2020 until January 2022?
Yes, I did.
And what was the result of that?
There were over another million, so 2.38 million, I think.
And how did you determine that the tweets were negative about Misheard?
Well, I hadn't been asked that until later on in this, but I didn't think that would be in controversy. I mean, some of these hashtags are pretty rude, and it would really surprise me that anyone would think that they wouldn't be negative towards Misheard. But when I was asked about it later, I actually took a random sampling and looked at them and could not find any that were not negative towards Misheard.
And what was the random sampling that you used?
I did 2 of them. They were 1,000 each.
And how did you determine which 1,000 tweets to use to review in each search?
I wrote a program that truly selected them at random.
Peach Castle.
And in your experience,
That's Japanese.
Is 2,000 tweets a meaningful sample?
If they're chosen at random in this universe, yes.
Okay. In addition to the 4 hashtags for Misheard, did you review any other? Did you look at any other hashtags?
I did.
And what type of hashtags did you look for?
I looked at what I found to be 6 hashtags that would be negative towards Mr. Depp.
Okay, but Michelle, could you put up demonstrative 1?
This is so
Which is on the
useless.
fifth page of
This is
Mr.
so useless
of attachment 4 of Mr.
because
Schnell's
even to that level,
expert designation.
she's already not known. Johnny Depp is
Mr.
already known
Mr.
for
Schnell,
way longer time, so
did you
he's going to
create this
have
chart?
way much
I
more
did.
fans,
And what
She
data
defames
is this chart
him.
based on?
and
This is
shit's in
based
his
on
bed.
the
Of
search
course, she's going to
API
have a
from
negative
Twitter,
attention
and
in
it
that
rolls up,
period. This proves
the
nothing.
number of tweets with the various hashtags by month.
This only
of each-
makes
of
sense if she
these
was
figures.
as famous as Johnny Depp
Figures.
or more
Your
famous
Honor,
than
I'd like
Johnny
to,
Depp. She
make
wasn't
this a
famous
demonstrative
at all,
Schnell,
almost. So what's the point
Schnell
of this?
Demonstrative 1? Or do you want it to be a...
If I could get it. one
Of
the
course,
numbers,
she
since it's
got
gonna be part of the
negative
record.
publicity.
Okay,
Also, what a
Can we call
dumb
it Schnell
thing to
demonstrative
do.
1, and then I will give you a number?
It's like stating the
last
obvious.
number I have is 1837. I don't know.
Sorry, guys, I was
You know,
screaming.
that's the last,
But I just think it's totally absurd because
Can we make it... Can we...
I'm not an expert
we make it
mathematician,
1900?
but this
That way
only
it's
makes
not-
sense if
How-
they
we
were
just
at
make it
the same
1900?
level. They were not.
1900 it is.
They
Any
were just
objections to
not.
demonstrative?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can publish that.
And is this the chart you made, Mr. Schnell?
It is.
Okay. And at the top here, there are hashtags.
And
that
I'm
are
not saying
in
this because I'm
yellow. You
angry
see
or because
that?
I'm biased.
I do.
Okay, and if
I'm
we
just
go
pissed
all the
off
way to
because
the-
this is
to the right,
just an absurd thing to do.
Well, first,
you know,
let's scroll
what
over
kind
to
of
the left here.
damage you can
Okay.
assess
You
if
see
somebody
in
already is not
2020,
much famous.
There's the months of June and July.
She's going to get publicity
Okay.
through a very
what
incredibly
are
famous
these columns?
person
First,
that is
tell
going to
the jury
also
what they
drive
represent.
negative
So each of these
publicity
is the
because
number
some
of
people they're
tweets
going to side with
the
Johnny, which they're already a
hashtags,
lot,
with
and
the
she's going to get
corresponding
negative
hashtag during that
publicity.
month.
So it's obvious that she's going to
And
get
if
more
we
negative
look at the
publicity
first
than
one
positive
in yellow,
one because she hasn't got
You see that
much
first
to
hashtag, the
begin
fourth
with.
one over?
I do.
And are there any? What does it show from 2018?
I mean, this is
right,
just a
to
waste of
July
time.
of 2020.
Oh my god!
There were none.
And then what happens in August of 2020?
Well, there's a remarkable jump from July to August of 2020. It goes from 0 to 13,878.
And if we scroll to the right, the last 3 hashtags, which are highlighted, or shows the difference between June and July. What did your analysis show?
Well, you can see that June is about at its steady state. In July, there's also a remarkable jump.
And that's for all 3 of those hashtags.
That's correct.
And the hashtags, if the hashtags that are in blue are the ones related to Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, by the way, what is your understanding of when the last alleged defamatory statement was made by Mr. Depp through Mr. Waldman?
My understanding is that it was the end of June of that year.
Of 2020?
Yes.
Now, looking at the hashtags that are highlighted in blue for Mr. Depp, for the
I
months
hope
of
there is going to
November,
be a
December,
cross-examination
November and December
because
of
otherwise I'm pissed
2018
off.
and January of 2019.
Because this is stupid.
What did your
honestly.
What does your analysis show?
Well, I see a remarkable jump in November of 2018, and and then it starts to, well, it goes way down in December of 18 and January of 19.
And do you know when Misheard wrote the op-ed in this matter?
My understanding is that it was December of 2018.
And if we go to November of 2020 for the hashtags related to Mr. Depp, if you see the difference between October of 2020 and November of 2020, what do you see there?
I also see a large jump from October to November of 2020.
Okay. And if we look at the last hashtag in blue that says Johnny Depp is a wife beater, what does that show what did your analysis find in terms of tweets with those hashtags?
It looks to me that also, I mean, there are none prior to, well, little here and there. There are single-digit ones, but prior to November of 2020, there are basically none, and then it jumps up to over 2,000.
And do you know what happened in November of 2020?
My understanding is that's when the UK trial ended.
Okay, we can take this down. And can you put up demonstrative 2, which will make 1901, which will identify as 1901?
That's fine, 1901. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 1901 can be published.
What a waste of everybody's time.
And Mr. Banya, what data is this chart based on? Oh, I did the same thing. Mr. Schnell, what data is this chart based on?
This chart is actually based on the data we just looked at, but out until January of 2022. And it's just another way of displaying the numbers in graphical form so that we can see peaks and valleys.
And what are the dotted lines?
So if you look at the top, you can see that the dashed lines are the negative hashtags towards Misheard, and the solid ones are the negative hashtags towards Mr. Depp.
And what is being shown here? In your analysis, what is shown with the tweets related to Misheard?
Well, you can see that there's a huge spike in February of 2020, which I believe Mr. Waldman just testified that that's when he leaked an audio tape of some kind. There's also a notable, remarkable spike in July of 2020, in November of 2020, and then in
this is
March
such a waste of
2021.
time. This is 2
And
years after
the spike in
the
February
op-ed.
2020,
Finally, Johnny probably teams leaks some audio to
that
prove
came
that he was
before
innocent,
the
which
alleged
we
defamatory
all
statements.
heard. That's why people changed
Which one?
mind,
The
thanks
spike
to those audio.
Yeah, February 2020.
I mean, this is a
That is
just
correct.
futile
And even though
attempt.
that spike came in before the
Of course, people they're going to make
alleged
up their
defamatory
mind.
statements,
You hear audio, you hear all those arguments,
even taking
then you
account
start to
for
have
that
a better
spike,
picture.
What time period has more negative tweets about Misheard, before or after April 2020?
Right. So even taking into account this really large spike in February of 2020, and you look at from the beginning of
Best man
2018.
ever. Yeah, I agree with you. They're
until the
simulating
beginning of 2022.
basically the same
there are,
technique.
A majority of the negative tweets are between April of 2020 through the beginning of 2022.
Amber behaves as if she was
do
this
you recall
A-lister
at your
that she
deposition
got paid
being
like
asked
$40 million a movie,
that it spiked-
and then all of a
that,
sudden her
spike in
husband
negative
ruined
hashtags
their
occurring
career.
before
I mean,
April 8th,
it's,
right before
it's
April
actually,
8th,
with all the
2020.
respect,
Objection, hearsay.
with all the respect, this is already something a little
that's about his
laughable,
attorney, yeah.
honestly.
Overruled, good.
Without,
I remember questions regarding.
I don't mean
particular
this in
dates,
any
yes.
demeaning way
what's your
towards her
understanding as to why
acting skills
there
or career
was,
or whatever, but it seems
more,
just a matter of facts.
Negative tweets in April 6th and April 7th and April 8th, 2020.
Objection, no foundation.
Was there more negative tweets on April 6th and April 7th than in April 8th, 2020, as it relates to Misheard?
Right. If you look at the day-by-day counts, which I supplied to Mr. Depp, and you can see that.
Come on, Amber.
There's a
You know
spike
you're
that
getting
begins
some
on
publicity
April
at
6th.
least.
and goes
At least some people are
for a few
Googling your
days.
name.
So on April
I-
6th
I didn't
is
even know she
my
was in
understanding
Aquaman.
Before what people are calling the alleged defamatory statement.
And did you look at the tweets for April 6th and April 7th?
I did.
And what did you find?
I found that there are Waldman statements that are the same as on the 8th, on the 6th, and the 7th. The Daily Mail on the 6th and Vanity Fair on the 7th.
Guys, I'm
What
surprised that
terms
we
were
almost
used?
3,000 anyway. I totally understand if this is boring.
Well, hoax is certainly used.
But
in each
I'm
of them.
super happy that you're back. I lost the other
I
stream.
think
Sorry.
abuse hoax is used in one of them.
So we lost
I don't
some
have it
people.
in front of me, but generally speaking, in the 7th, I think it's the same exact terms that are used in the one on the 8th, but the 6th may be slightly different, but it has the word hoax.
Okay. If we can go to the second page of this demonstrative. What's being shown in the second page of this demonstrative?
So this is it's the same data as the first one, but I've removed one hashtag, the Justice for Johnny Depp hashtag, because it kind of overwhelms all the others because there are so many of them. And by removing it, it sort of rescales the graph and you can see the others much better. And even though they looked really tiny in the previous page, you can see that they're big numbers, over 100,000 and stuff. So this shows, and if you look between the two, you can see that the curves are the same. So it shows like a mathematical correlation between all the hashtags.
So what do you mean by mathematical correlation?
Well, they're correlated. You can see the numbers go up and down at the same place.
So I'm understanding the hashtags are essentially all going up and down at the same times?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And can we put up demonstrative exhibit 3?
Wow. These facts are blowing our mind.
1902.
1902.
That's
Yes,
fine.
thank you.
Thank you,
All right, any
Julieta.
objection to 1902?
Not as a
Yes,
demonstrative.
demonstrative, yes. Okay. You can publish that.
Mr. Schnell, did you create this chart?
I did.
And what does this chart show?
So what I did was I took the data that I supplied to Mr. Depp, which was the original data from April of 2020 through January of 2021, and I searched it for certain key terms, specifically hoax, fake, and fraud. And that's what it's representing. The top part, anyway.
And the top part, if you look at for hoax, fake, and fraud and this is within the negative hashtags or it's misheard?
Right. This is only searching through the ones that have one of these 4 hashtags in them.
Okay. And if you look at the total, oops, I'm putting that in black. Let's clear that. Well, you saw the line there. What's the total number of times it was used in the negative tweets, either hoax, fake, or fraud?
81,121.
And did you perform any other searches on the data?
Yes.
And what searches did you perform?
Oh my God.
So I also looked in that same data for references to Waldman by itself, or Wald, and then followed by anything followed by Mignon or Minions, Minion, depending how you want to pronounce it, sort of a portmanteau of Waldman and filet mignon, I guess, or Minions, and looked for those in the same data.
And in terms of the percentage of the amount of times Waldman or Waldmignon was used in the negative hashtags from April 2020 through, is it January 2021?
The percent?
Yeah, what's the percentage?
Yeah,
probably-
so I found over 25%
I honestly
of
find
the,
this is
negative hashtag tweets.
This guy is
1
more
out of every
boring
4 on average
than the guy that
had
was supposed to
either,
be an expert
Waldman or
on
Waldman.
trend for Johnny Depp, honestly. It's like this guy managed to
And
top the other one.
I see you ran searches for hoax, fake,
Oh my
fraud,
God.
rather than abuse hoax in quotes or sexual violence hoax in quotes. Why didn't you run those searches?
Objection compound.
Overruled.
So so if I had put them in quotes like that, say abuse hoax in quotes, that would require that it show up in exactly that way, with the same spacing and the same order. So if it said something like there was abuse and there was a hoax, it wouldn't get caught. So if I take the quotes out and search for them separately, search for things separately, that'll cover it and make sure that I catch everything.
And based on your analysis of these searches within the negative hashtags, what do the results of these searches mean?
Well, obviously I can't read what's in people's minds, but when I read the disclosure of Mr. Depp's expert, Mr. Banya, he stated that if these terms, in particular the Waldman term,
Objection, hearsay.
He's an expert.
No, overruled.
if these terms had shown up a lot of times in the negative hashtag tweets, then that could show that they were, paraphrasing the impetus of why people tweeted these. So I sort of adopted Mr. Banya's opinion on that and found this large number. So I agree with Mr. Depp's expert that this could show a substantial correlation.
And to what level of confidence do you hold the opinions you just provided to the jury?
To a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
Thank you, Mr. Schnell. I have no further
All
questions.
right, cross-examination.
Finally, let's go. Let's do this. Let's see. Let's hear some good question, my man. Don't get stumbling, please. Don't stumble too much, my man.
Sir, this is the first time that you've testified as an expert as in the field of
Fernando,
statistical
thank you
and
so
forensic
much.
analysis
Thank you so
of
much,
social
Fernando.
media, isn't it?
I've consulted on litigation for it, but it never got to testimony. That's correct.
This is your first testimony.
Testimony, yes.
Right. And you've never been involved in a defamation case before.
That's correct.
And you're being compensated for your time here today and the work you did, correct?
Berkeley Research Group is being compensated, yes.
At $600 an hour.
That's what they're getting paid.
Right. And you're aware that Mr. Depp is being sued based on allegedly defamatory statements. What are the dates of those statements?
My understanding is there was something around April 8th, I believe April 27th and June 24th, somewhere in the end of June.
Okay. And where do you understand those statements to have resided?
In the public media.
In any particular article or?
I didn't consider that.
All right. So you're not offering an opinion on how widely the articles that contain those statements were read?
That's correct.
And you're not offering an opinion
Very
as
good,
to
my
how
man.
many people actually saw the language that's been attributed to Mr. Waldman?
Only a minimum number of people who could have seen it based on the tweets that referenced him.
Okay. And you don't know even where those references appear in the articles?
I'm not sure what you mean.
There are statements by Mr. Waldman that appear in articles. Do you understand that?
I do.
Do you know in what portion of the articles the statements appear?
I've looked at the articles, and from that, I've seen where they appear.
And where, in general, do they appear? In the middle, the end? What's your sense?
That I'm not sure of. I mean, the ones I looked at on the 6th and 7th, I think they were towards the top.
All right. So you testified that you reviewed a number of hashtags that you deemed were negative towards Misheard. That's right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the four you picked, at least the negative ones, Justice for Johnny Depp, that's from one of them, right?
That's right.
Amber Heard is an abuser, that's one of them.
That is one of them.
We just don't like you, Amber, that's one of them.
That is one of them.
And the last one was Amber Turd, right?
That is another one.
Amber Turd.
Okay. And
Oh,
these
people are
four
laughing
hashtags
in
you
the
identified
gallery
and
there.
searched for, you have
That was funny.
you don't believe they have any connection, or you testified that you have no connection to these three Waldman statements. The hashtags aren't connected to Waldman, right?
Well, I did an additional analysis that did show how many of those had Waldman connected to them, and I found that 1 out of 4 of them did.
Right. But when you were deposed, you were asked whether these were related these particular hashtags were related to any of the Waldman statements, and you said no at that time.
I said more than that. I said I didn't know, and then I said I'm basing I'm looking at Mr. Banya's opinion where he says they would be if they were in large number, and I'm adopting his opinion and agreeing with him that they must be connected.
So you're adopting an opinion that hasn't been rendered in this case yet by anybody but you.
Well, I know that Mr. Banya
Has testified.
Okay, what I'm saying is I know that Mr. Banya's disclosure says that he is expected to come to that opinion.
All right. But the only person who's ever expressed this opinion to date in this courtroom is you, correct?
I wouldn't know. I haven't watched everything. I've watched a bit.
So
but
you're adopting your own opinion.
no, I'm adopting the opinion that I read in Mr. Banya's disclosure.
All right. And that's not the opinion you had during your deposition.
I think I did make reference in my deposition to what Mr. Banya said, and that I agreed with it.
All right. And you indicated in deposition you didn't take into account statements made in the media, correct?
Made in what? I couldn't hear.
You said you did not take into account in your analysis statements made in the media.
Media. Yes, in the analysis where I gathered data and decided which data to gather, I did not take into account statements in the media.
All right. So you looked at data, you produced charts, you did analysis relating to the data, but you had no reason at the time you did this to consider any particular statements. Isn't that true?
That's true. I think that's an appropriate scientific methodology to not to first gather as much data as possible and then drill down on the data.
All right. And the Twitter data you collected shows that the 4 hashtags you identified were in existence before Mr. Waldman made the first statement in April 2020, right?
That's correct.
Right.
In very small number.
But justice for Johnny Depp has been around since 2013, correct?
That sounds correct.
Yeah. Amber Heard is an abuser, and Amber Turd first appeared in 2016, correct?
I don't recall, actually.
Right. Do you recall if there was any portion of Mr. Waldman's statement that made any reference to Amber Turd?
Not that I've seen.
Right. People can form a negative view of Ms. Heard without reading Mr. Waldman's statements, correct?
People can form a negative opinion of anyone without reading anything. That's correct.
And you didn't consider whether there was negative publicity around Ms. Heard other than the Waldman statements?
Well, what I did was to report on correlation with these hashtags and certain search terms in particular. I wasn't trying to read anyone's mind as to why they used them.
So what are you trying to prove exactly
You
then?
didn't form any opinion that of the million plus tweets that you looked at, were connected in some way to Mr. Waldman's statements.
I did eventually, yes.
You did eventually after you read somebody else's report relative to testimony that hasn't been given here.
Well, I did it before my deposition.
All right. You have a demonstrative that counsel played for you. Can we put up plaintiff's 1901 again? This is yours, right?
Correct.
Yeah. The biggest spikes, by far the biggest spikes here, are attributable to what hashtag?
Justice for Johnny Depp hashtag.
Yeah. And there are spikes that existed considerably before Mr. Waldman's statement. You were asked about that by counsel?
One of them did. That was the date that Mr. Waldman leaked the audio tape.
The biggest spike was before the statements.
Right, the date he leaked the audio.
And then there were many statements that, or there are many hashtags, or uses of the hashtag, that follow the statements.
You'll have to be more specific.
Well, so you looked at 1,000,002 of these hashtags, right?
Right.
in your chart, didn't 980,000 of these plus belong to Justice for Johnny Depp?
That sounds about right. You'd have to show me, but I'll take your word for it.
All right. But the vast majority of them were Justice for Johnny Depp.
A majority of them were.
Well, it wasn't the majority so large that you had to draw another chart?
The reason for drawing another chart is because
They paid me.
the numbers were high at particular points, so you wouldn't be able to see the other hashtags.
Right. Literally, this is your chart, and all of the other activity at the bottom you can barely see in comparison to the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp.
Right, as I testified, you can barely see them because of the spikes in the Justice for Johnny Depp hashtag, but when you look at the other chart, you can see that those others are still very large numbers.
So you're not offering any opinion as to what caused these spikes.
That's correct.
Right. So you're not opining as to why these spikes are there.
I'm only talking about correlation.
Right. You're talking about a mathematical connection.
That's right.
Right. And you don't purport to be in anybody's head such that you know why they did a particular post with a
That
particular
would be
hashtag.
funny.
That's correct.
All right. There's a second spike that appears to be in July of 2020.
Yes, the pointer was pointing to a different one, but yes.
Yeah. Were you aware there was a trial in the UK in 2020
I'm aware.
and in July?
You're saying it was in July?
No, but as of the time of that spike, there was publicity around a trial, correct?
I don't know how much publicity there was. I know the trial was going on then.
All right. There are.
He
number
looked at
of
Amber
things
Heard
called
like
out in your
worried.
chart
It's like, I'm not going to get paid.
relative
that was
to
funny.
particular dates: December 17th, February 11th, February 14th. You see all those,
I do.
and your chart makes absolutely no reference to, and does not identify the dates of any of the Waldman statements, does it, sir?
No, it doesn't call those out if that's what you're asking.
It calls out a whole bunch of other dates, but nothing relative to the Waldman statements.
Correct.
All right. All right. At some point, you ran searches for additional search terms: hoax, fraud. I think you said fake, and then you don't know why those terms appeared, do you?
I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Are you asking me?
You could not perform a scientific analysis of the reason why those terms appeared in the tweets you were looking at.
Right. I could only show mathematical correlation.
Right. You could show a correlation, but you don't have any idea why they're there.
I can't get into people's heads.
Right.
I mean, this guy really
because
just searched
the
for
tweet contains one of the
hashtag
terms
fake
Does not
without
mean the
Amber
tweet
Heard
was in some
attached
way
to it.
Prompted by Mr. Waldman, right?
Are you serious?
Well, there are a few things I searched for. The ones you just mentioned, and then the Waldman and Waldman-Yon terms. So, it's not that big a stretch to say that it's related to Mr. Waldman if it's his name and Waldman-Yon or Minion.
Wait a minute. Is the new standard? It's not that big a stretch.
No.
Or the
I'm trying to
standard
speak. I'm
scientific
trying to.
certainty, right?
Yes.
All right. So
I
I'm
like
not
this lawyer.
suggesting
He's like, hey, weren't
you
you
know
like
why Mr.
an
Waldman's name
expert?
appeared
Now we're
in
making
any
big
of these
stretches. Oh, I love
Well,
that.
if you look at the tweets that have Waldman-Yon, and I looked at a large sample of them.
Wait, just a large sample was 2,000 out of 1,000,002.
No, I looked at more than that of these. But that's another thing that I wouldn't expect to be in controversy. When people are saying that they're part of the walled minions or things like that, I would expect everybody to agree without arguing that it has to do with Mr. Waldman.
And nobody asked whether it had to do with Mr. Waldman. I'm wondering, how do you know that it had anything to do with Mr. Waldman's statements?
But I was under the impression, I was informed that nobody really knew who Mr. Waldman was before all of this, so I wouldn't expect it to be anything else. I didn't think it was in controversy.
It wasn't in controversy whether everyone knew who Mr. Waldman was? Is that your testimony?
No, I'm saying it wasn't in controversy that that if somebody was suddenly talking about him, that it had to do with this case.
All right, but again, it's not, did it have to do with this case? It's, did it have to do with the allegedly defamatory statements? You have no idea, do you, sir?
I can't get into anyone's mind. I can only talk about the science of it.
Right. And so you identified all of these hashtags as negative towards Misheard, right?
Right.
Justice for Johnny Depp is not negative towards Misheard, is it?
No, but the tweets that use that hashtag are.
No, but the hashtag itself, the hashtag that predominates through your analysis is not, in fact, negative towards Misheard.
I'm not opining on the hashtag itself. I'm talking about the tweets that contain that hashtag.
But the hashtag itself is not negative.
That's not part of my opinion, one way or the other.
Do you have an opinion as to whether justice for Johnny Depp is a good thing?
That's not part of my assignment.
Okay. But you'll agree with me justice in general is a good thing?
Big fan of justice.
All right, me too. No further questions.
All right, redirect. Okay, yes, sir.
Mr. Schnell, you reviewed a large sampling of tweets of Justice for Johnny Depp, correct?
I did.
And the tweets that had the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp, how many of them were negative toward Misheard?
All of them.
Okay. And what percentage of the tweets with negative hashtags between April 2020 and January 31st, 2021 contain the terms Waldman or Waldman-Yohn?
Overruled, I'll allow.
Over 25%. 1 out of 4.
And in your analysis, how far in time do the tweets containing the terms Waldman or Waldman-Yohn go? Like how far to now?
Well,
Beyond the scope of cross?
He was asking about.
Overruled.
So I think I disclosed at my deposition that I looked further into 2022 and found that it continued to go on. Didn't see any end to it at all.
Okay. And based on your analysis, again, what period of time had more negative tweets against Misheard before or after April 2020?
It was clearly double as many from April to 2021.
This,
And that's
of
even
course, it
including
makes
the
no
February
sense. This
2020 spike,
honestly,
correct?
That's right. So and that happened before
Makes
April,
just
obviously.
no sense.
So even if you put that in there, it's
Because-
still a lot more after April.
because this guy is just stating the
2020,
obvious.
and there are fewer months.
He's just
in that
stating the
time period.
obvious
I think there
as
were
a reaction to the trial
15
in the
months
UK
in
also,
that time
I
period,
suppose.
and 27 months in the first part.
And based on your analysis, what, if any, end do you see to the negative tweets toward Misheard?
Objection, no foundation.
Based on his analysis up until the time?
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Did you see any, based on your analysis, did you, at the end of the time of your analysis, what was happening with the negative tweets toward Misheard?
To continue to go on.
Okay. Mr. Schnell, after your cross-examination, have any of your opinions in this matter changed?
No, they've not.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so you can have a seat in the courtroom or you're free to go. Okay, sir? Thank you. All right, your next witness? Okay, sure.
This was useless. This was useless simply because this guy is there to prove that there is a lot of hashtag positive towards Johnny Depp attached to tweet probably that had to do with the UK trial when it brought in a lot of press. And I mean, nobody's surprised that after especially the audio leak that people started to make their own mind making decisions. It's obvious that Johnny Depp has a following that it's probably like 1,000-fold or 10,000-fold that of his ex-wife, that she was barely known to be the wife of Johnny Depp. I literally didn't know that he was married to this woman until about the UK trial. I had no idea she was in Aquaman. I had no freaking idea who this person was. So even people like me, for instance, which had no freaking idea who this is, then all of a sudden they're exposed to, oh wait, Johnny Depp was beating the wife, and then you look into it, and it's like, hey, what the hell is going on here? What is this? And then you hear those audio leaks, that you see those arguments, and you go like, oh, wait a second, then maybe there's more to the story, and you start to Google her name, you start to see it, people make up their mind, and you go like, oh, wait a second, she probably had no tweets before, and all of a sudden 10,000 people following Johnny Depp, which they're pissed because, you know, they believe that he's right, they're going to start to tweet against this person for the first time, which in the first place had no real traffic on her social media, or not that much, and then she starts to get more traffic also in the negative. So this guy is just stating the obvious. But again, what's the point of doing this if this person was barely known in the business to start with? And again, I say this, like, you can call me out if my reasoning is wrong, but now like fresh and warm from this, I'm just thinking with you guys, and I'm like, well, what's the whole point of this? Of course she's gonna get some bad publicity from fans of Johnny Depp that believe him, believe in what they heard in the audio and whatever, and as a response they're going to react on social media and they're going to drag her name. So obviously there's going to be so much more traffic, but how does it compare to before? Like, if you show us before that, I don't know, some hashtags positive for her name was like, you know, like decreasing, then we can make an assessment, I guess. But just that all of a sudden in a point in time she has more negative traffic just seems like Captain Obvious. You know, get out of here. Like, I could have told you that for free, not even $600 an hour. I mean, what is that? What are you trying to prove? And I mean this beyond the scope of, you know, like Johnny being innocent or not. I'm just saying this beyond the scope of that, just like as a logical argument, you know, like what did you expect would happen in that period of heightened publicity where people also, they're gonna take a stand, you know? She must have had also like supporter before. I'm pretty sure that when the op-ed came out, you know, that's something they should have showed also. I'm pretty sure that when she came forward to claim alleged abuse, for instance, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of hashtag in positive response to her. You know, I'm pretty sure of that. I think she started to get more negative press when we started to listen to those tapes, or people, because I also didn't hear those tapes at the time. All those leaked audios which give a different perspective on the whole case, and then people, they're going to take a stand, you know. It's just
Thank you,
absolutely
Honor.
obvious.
We will be calling Michelle Mulrooney by deposition designation and restart.
Okay.
Just give us a moment. Get that.
Who is this? Come on, I'm tired of those freaking people saying nothing. Say something, show pictures, do something, I don't know.
All right, you just want to spell the last name for me?
It's Mulrooney.
All right. Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Michelle Mulrooney, Los Angeles, California, 90067.
Ms. Mulrooney, what is your occupation?
I'm a partner at Venable LLP, an attorney practice.
Could you just please describe give me a brief description of your educational background and work history?
Okay, I attended USC and received my undergraduate degree in 1982. And then I again attended USC and received my law degree in 1985. I then worked for Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher until 1991. And then I worked for an entertainment law firm that was originally called Armstrong Hirsch. When I joined it, then later morphed into several names. And then in 2011, I joined Venable LLP as a partner.
Thank you. What are your areas of practice and expertise?
I'm head of the estate planning, the West Coast estate planning group for Venable.
And does that estate planning involve any aspect of marital estate planning, such as things like prenups and postnups, prenuptials, postnuptials?
Yes, we frequently do prenups, cohabitation, and postnup agreements for our clients.
Would you please briefly describe what a prenuptial and a postnuptial is?
A prenuptial agreement is where spouses contract on the economics of their marriage before they are married, and they discuss things as the nature, and they contract the things as the nature of the property, community separate, etc., and also things like spousal support. And in a postnup, the clients do that after they're married. They contract on the same issue.
Let's say, put the light on.
Do you regularly represent actors?
Yes.
I'm asking very narrowly, did there come a time when Amber Heard contacted you for representation respecting a prenup or a postnup agreement?
At some point, I was contacted about an Amber Heard prenup.
Ms. Mulroney, I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 3, and it's an email from you to a Dana Lowry. Do you know who Dana Lowry is?
Yes.
And could you please tell us who Dana Lowry is?
She's a family law attorney practicing in Los Angeles.
And this is dated Monday, February 2, 2015, and says, I look forward to working with you. Please send me, this is from you, please send me the bullet points for the economics of the deal. When you are back in the office tomorrow, I will have Amber's business manager get her financial information to me ASAP. I also like to exchange 2 years of tax returns, but not attach them. Is this your general practice? Let me know. Think. Who did Dana Lowry represent?
Johnny Depp.
I take it Amber in the actual document is Amber Heard. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if I just direct your attention to the top of the email where it says February, get control here. February 2, 2015. What, if
Thank you, guys.
anything, does this do to refresh your recollection on when approximately you were contacted about representing Amber Heard in connection with the prenup?
It makes the approximate date more clear to me.
Okay. And based on this, when approximately were you contacted to represent Amber Heard in connection with the prenup or postnup?
the early part of February, the late part of January, or the early part of February 2015.
Ms. Mulrooney, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as exhibit number 4. And it is an email from you to Dana Lowry, which is Mr. Depp's counsel, correct?
During this time period, correct.
And it's dated Tuesday, February 3.
Well, today,
And I'm going to scroll
today
down
I'm just
first so
like,
we get the
oh
earliest part of
my
it. And
good
the first
universe.
part of it is an email from Dana Lowry to you, dated February 3rd at 10:13, and says J/A deal points. Do you know what J/A means? I'm going to take you, first of all, to the bottom part, which is the J/deal points.
Guys,
Do
by the
you
way, we
have an
are
understanding of
4,400
what
in the
J/A
chat again. That's
means?
awesome.
I believe it means Johnny/Amber deal points.
Absent a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement, is California what we call a common law property state?
No,
What is it?
it's a community property state.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Generally means that all earnings after the date of marriage are owned 50. Each party has an undivided 50% interest in those earnings.
How about that? Do not marry in California. Do not marry.
What was your understanding of the purpose of the confidentiality agreement?
It's very standard when you're doing a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement when either party is disclosing their assets that they ask for a confidentiality agreement.
You respond on February 17, Dana, I have forwarded to Amber. She is filming a movie, but hope to connect with her by the end of the week. I will keep trying to move forward. I'm asking you what you meant by I will keep trying to move forward.
I assume I meant that we're trying to get a postnuptial agreement signed between the parties, and that's what I was hired for.
Show you what has been marked as exhibit number 7. And I'm going to start again with going down to show you where the stream is here. And it says, on February 17, that's the same email we've seen a couple times now where she's attaching the confidentiality agreement, telling you to have a draft post-nup agreement, but she's getting the signed confidentiality agreement first. And then I'm going to direct your attention to the very top part, and that is Wednesday, February 18. And it's from you to Dana Lowry, and it says, Amber is sending the signed confidentiality agreement to me. I assume I will receive all the underlying financials and a list of anticipated future revenue streams and documentation.
I mean, are they trying to prove that she was entitled to half of his money and she asked for very little money because she was not interested in the money? Can you please not make me puke that I just finished to have dinner? Ellen, thank you very much. What you're trying to say that this is an egalitarian statement from her side that she was entitled to 30 million and she got 7?
That he would render services after marriage. I just wanted to see the pro bono.
Ask the real questions. Nobody cares.
What did you mean by back ends?
Back end is either profit participation or royalties. Sometimes it's box office bonuses. You just have to look at the underlying agreement on each movie, TV show, etc., to track what the revenue will be from each project.
And why is that relevant?
I want to know what they're going to make during the marriage. I want to know the income during the marriage.
And those are all components of what they make during the marriage?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then you said, I can't really comment on the document until I get this information. What document were you referring to there?
The post-nup agreement that I anticipated she would send.
How much time expired between when you were sent the confidentiality agreement for Amber Heard to sign and when you indicated back to counsel for Mr. Depp that Amber is sending the signed confidentiality agreement to you?
The next day.
What, if any, communication did you receive from Mr. Depp in connection with the post-nup agreement?
I received one telephone call.
And whom did you receive that telephone call from?
Mr. Depp.
Please describe the telephone call from Mr. Depp.
He was trying not to lose all his
My
money.
recollection is that he was very mean, that he called me names, and that he fired me on behalf of them.
When you say that he was very mean, what did you mean?
Well, my only exact recollection is he called me a bitch.
Mr. Depp called you a
Lady,
bitch
I
on
don't
that
know
telephone
you,
call?
but that doesn't seem like to be
Lady.
too far from the truth, with all due
What, if any,
respect.
observations did you make?
It must be a lot of
during
fun.
the telephone
I'm joking, guys.
call
I'm
from
joking.
Mr. Depp,
I'm joking.
during
Please,
which time he
I'm
called
joking.
you a bitch?
I thought he was under the influence.
Why did you think that?
He was slurring his words, and his speech pattern was similar to my children's speech pattern when they were under influence. I was just extremely rattled by the call. I mean, I was on the phone for a very short time with him because he was represented by counsel, and I didn't want to be rude and hang up, but I told him I had to hang up. Like after 2 or 3 minutes after I realized what was happening, it took me very off guard.
I mean, this looks like the kind of person that probably, if
and
she
I-
keeps talking,
that's all I
probably she's going to
remember
sue
is that
Johnny Depp as
it
well
really
for
shook me up.
post-traumatic stress disorder.
After that phone call, did
She looks
you
like she's
perform
already
any
breaking
further
down.
services for Ms. Heard in connection with the postnuptial agreement?
No,
Do you recall ever seeing a postnuptial draft agreement?
no.
I mean, honestly,
Has
if Johnny
either
called
Ms.
her
Heard or
that,
Mr.
he was
Depp
out of line, I have to say.
contacted
I mean,
you at any
I'm not
time
justifying that
after
by any means.
the call with
He
Mr.
shouldn't have.
Depp respecting pursuing a postnuptial agreement?
No.
Hey, Raquel, just leave.
Who, if anyone, was paying your legal services?
I don't recall.
Was it your understanding that Mr. Depp had the authority to fire you?
No.
Did you tell him that?
I don't recall.
And isn't it true that he wouldn't have had the authority to fire you even if he were paying for your legal services? True?
True.
What, if any, communications did you have with Dana Lowy about your conversation with Mr. Depp after the conversation with Mr. Depp?
Can be also she's lying,
I don't
that she
recall
said that she was
specifically.
called a bitch. Can also be,
What do you recall generally, if anything?
I do recall that I told her that I was no longer representing him. But I don't know if I did that in writing. Somehow she knew.
But and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you testified that Mr. Depp did not have the authority to fire you, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Mulrooney, when did your attorney-client relationship with Ms. Heard relating to a potential postnuptial agreement terminate?
Shortly after that phone call.
When you say shortly after that phone call, Can you give us a time frame of how long it was after the phone call?
Within a few days, could be one.
He didn't have the power to fire you, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any recollection of ever receiving any more communications from Dana Lowry furthering the postnuptial agreement after Johnny Depp called you and told you he was firing you on behalf of Amber and called you names?
No substantive, I recall that there was no more substantive conversations.
So she couldn't
Is there any
fire
question in
you?
your mind that it was Mr. Depp who called you?
No.
Wow, that was a boring deposition. I
Yes,
didn't
ma'am, your next
understand
witness.
nothing.
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to call the Disney corporate representative.
All right.
Anyway, what I was trying to say is that obviously everybody can have bad days, but if you call somebody that it's, like a person that you don't know, you call them a bitch, for instance, I disagree in doing so.
Would you please state your name and your business address for the record?
Even if
Tina
perhaps she
Newman,
deserves that, I don't
Walt
know, but
Disney
I'm just
Studios
saying,
Motion
if
Picture
I'm pissed to
Production,
somebody,
live action,
I'm not just going to go off
500
on
South
them,
Buena Vista Street,
call them
Burbank,
names
California,
or something,
91521.
And what is your current occupation?
I'm a production executive.
And what is your job title?
That is my title, production executive. I work in the live action feature
my
division
God.
for Disney.
What is
Is it
this?
your understanding you're testifying on behalf of Walt Disney Motion Pictures Group?
Yes.
Were you involved in the gathering of the documents responsive to the documents subpoenaed to Disney?
Yes, I did provide some documentation to Alec and his group from our production group.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at what I've just highlighted on
All right, let's see just for a
topic
second,
number
what
is
is this?
subpoenaed. Just take a
Let's try to
paragraph
understand
number
at least
2.
what they want to do with
And it asks
this.
for documents relating to
With this
this
other
case,
testimony.
in fact, and then it also says specifically, this specifically includes the op-ed by Ms. Heard and any impact it may have had on the above. And that includes, as it's defined above, including the business relationship with Mr. Depp, including considering Mr. Depp for any work with Disney or future Pirates of the Caribbean role, or a lesser or greater role, a different role, or a different production. Do you recall seeing in any of the documents you reviewed, either being involved as the corporate designee or in preparing as the corporate designee, do you recall seeing an op-ed written by Ms. Heard?
Oh my
No.
God, seriously?
Do you recall in your preparation as the corporate designee of Disney and your review of the documents that were produced by Disney,
Oh my God.
any document that referred in
This
any
is so
manner
tedious.
to the op-ed written by Ms. Heard?
I would say no.
Do you remember seeing in any of the documents you reviewed that were produced by Disney in response to the subpoena Lucas Tatum, the word op-ed in any of those documents?
I don't recall that, no.
Did you have any discussions with anyone at Disney about any future Pirates of the Caribbean role, a lesser or greater role, a different role, or a different production?
No.
Did you have any discussions with anyone at Disney about the impact of the op-ed by Ms. Heard on the relationship between Disney and Mr. Depp, including considering Mr. Depp for any work with Disney, any future Pirates of the Caribbean role, a lesser or greater role, a different role, or a different production?
The date on the
No.
video is,
Do you
I think it's 2
know
November
whether
or
Mr. Depp
11
is
February.
being
I don't know,
considered
because it's
for
like
a role
this.
in Pirates 6?
No.
And when you say no, I think I have to probably ask clarification. Does that mean you don't know one way or the other, or he is not being considered?
I don't know one way or the other.
Do you
doesn't-
know?
This is the date.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that decision doesn't fall within my job responsibility. It's above my head. It's the best way to say it.
So what is the knowledge you have about Pirate 6?
Like I said, I just know that it's a project that's possibly in development at the studio. That's it.
Do you know whether anyone at Disney has ever even read the op-ed written by Ms. Heard?
No.
Are you aware of anyone else
So they're
at
basically
Disney
they're trying to
who
say
has
that
knowledge
he was
of
fired,
the topic areas
that had nothing to
in
do with
the
OPED.
deposition notice
And
that's
to that,
deposition
honestly, I
exhibit
want to
number
say,
2,
Ellen,
that
I
beyond
think
what
it's
you
time
know.
to go to
I
the
can't
North
honestly say, I
California,
can't speak for someone else.
go to Haslin.
Like I
There are
explained
thermal
earlier,
water there. Just soak in one of
my
the swimming
knowledge
pool,
and what my
relax.
job
You
functionality
deserved
is
it.
at the
You
studio,
know, you have been a lawyer for
at
like 40 years
Plateaus,
probably.
and there are people
It's
that I
time.
work under, and those particular persons may or may not have more knowledge, but I can't speak on behalf of them.
Is Disney aware that Mr. Depp has testified under oath that he would not take another Pirates of the Caribbean franchise role for $300 million and 1 million alpacas?
No.
Would Disney entertain paying Mr. Depp more than $300 million and provide him with more than 1 million alpacas to be able to obtain his services for any future Pirates of the Caribbean?
You know, they're really trying hard to say like, no,
No.
they would have fired him
I'm sure you would
anyway.
have enlarged
Seriously?
his deposition exhibit
I mean,
number
seriously?
52
Like-
to Alan Horn.
Like
Who's
literally,
that?
the guy was fired 2 days after this article came out.
He was our co-chairman.
Come on. I mean,
Disney.
Yes,
And Alan Bergman, who's he?
same. He's the other co-chairman of Disney, or was at the time.
And then Sean Bailey, you indicated, was the president?
It's our president of production, correct.
Okay, and then Ricky Strauss, who's he?
I believe at the time he was the head of our marketing group.
And Paul Rader?
Paul Reeder is the head of communications.
All right, and this is from Angela Shaw, and it's dated 5/10/2017. Do you see that?
Yes.
And it says, subject HR, Johnny Depp, a star in crisis, and the insane story of his missing millions. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any understanding as to why Angela Shaw was sending this communication to this group, the two co-chairmen, the president, vice president of production,
where are we going
head
here?
of communications on this
Who
particular?
is driving this car? I don't know.
I don't know what the intent of the email is, but
I want to get out.
obviously we have a relationship as a company with Johnny, so I assume that's why she may be bringing it to their attention.
All right, and just to take that a little bit further, given that Disney has a relationship with Johnny Depp, if there is publicity relating to Johnny Depp, whether it be positive or negative, that would be relevant to Disney, would it not?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say how it's relevant to Disney, but given that Angela is part of communications, it's her job to, keep the studio abreast, I guess, of anything concerning the company. So that's about as far as I can read into it.
Okay. And so that's your interpretation of why Angela Shaw sent this to that group of people, was to keep them apprised of this particular article on Johnny Depp. Would you agree?
Yeah, that would be my assumption. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been labeled as exhibit number 53, and it is Disney 114 through 137.
I mean, next time,
And I'm
ask
going
the
to
guy
ask
that
you to
works at the
recognize this
kitchen at
document.
Disney, for his opinion, whether or not he was fired because of the
Well, it looks like
pet
an
or not.
internal email. It may
Probably is more
it
reliable.
may have been part of the disclosure documents.
This one's from Alan Horn, and I think we've identified Alan Horn before. Well, actually, it starts with, let's start down here. On June 21st, 2018, all right, and then it has a reply from Sean Bailey, sad. Do you see that?
Yes.
What was Mr. Bailey's position with Disney on June 21st, 2018?
I believe he was the president then.
Okay,
He may have been the EVP. I don't know.
okay. And then we have an email at the top. It's to Sean Bailey, CC Janelle Tipton. And then it has some copies to some other people. It's from Alan Horn. I believe we said he was one of the co-directors. Is that correct?
Co-chairman.
Co-chairman. Okay. And Alan Bergman.
The other co-chairman.
Okay. And do you have any recollection of ever reading the Rolling Stones article about Johnny Depp back in this time frame?
I honestly don't remember if I ever read this document. I may have.
Do you have any understanding of why this would be sent from Alan Horn to these other individuals on the top?
Again, same as before, just because of the fact that we have a relationship with Johnny. So they may have determined it was important to bring it to their attention.
All right, Ms. Newman, I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 54.
Oh, mommy.
And do you recognize this document?
Yes, it looks like a email.
Please tell me. Please describe it.
I'm pretty sure Bencho is looking at
It's
pictures
an
of
email
cats on his phone
well, it started
just to
from
entertain
Scott
himself. Must
to
be.
myself. Scott Sellers is in post-finance. And then I replied to Scott. So it looks like an email exchange between the two of us.
All right, and you said Scott Sellers is in post-finance?
Correct.
What is that?
He handles all finances once film goes into post-production on any given picture. Also reporting for the studio, internal reporting, finances.
All right. And this is July 14, 2018 that he's sending this to you, correct?
I mean,
Yes.
this whole day,
Do you
like
recall reading
all of the day,
story?
it's like
It was in
even
Rolling Stone,
Rottenborn
trouble with Johnny
is
Depp?
questioning his life
I mean,
choices.
to be honest, I don't really remember
You know,
much
literally,
about the
even
story,
that
but
guy is like,
obviously I must have
why
looked
did
at
I
it
do this?
and commented.
Right, and
I see.
in fact, you commented depressing. Do you see
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And just to go back to refreshing your recollection on the template, do you see that it has importance and received on this when you sent it back?
Yes. Hmm.
Ms. Newman, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 56. And it is a document also produced by Disney, and there's the date stamps, Disney 167 through 177. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at the top there. This is to Alan Bergman from, and it has THR's Today and Entertainment. Do you understand what that is?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to turn down to 169. It says Johnny Depp's legal team prepares for court hearing about Amber Heard abuse claims. The actors' camp is previewing the evidence that it will present in an upcoming court hearing in the UK this fall, tied to a defamation lawsuit against the Sun for an article that labeled the actor a, quote, wife beater, end of quote. Katie Kalani reports. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you have a recollection of learning about this and reading about the UK case in this time frame? We're talking October 2018.
I may have seen a headline come across my desk in the same manner as Alan received it, but that's probably as far as it went.
Ms. Newman, I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition number
Jennifer,
16.
I agree with you.
And it's dated
The juror
November
sleeping
5,
probably.
2020. And it says Disney reportedly scraps plans for Depp's POTC 6. I'm assuming that's Pirates of the Caribbean 6 return. You see that? The question was, did you see it?
Yes, I see it.
As you sit here today, are you aware of any document in Disney's emails or in their IT system or anywhere that contains Amber Heard's op-ed from December of 2018?
I mean,
man.
no, not that I'm aware.
Are you aware of any decision maker
I mean, I swear, listening
Within
to
Disney,
my washing machine,
who
it's
has
more
ever
interesting than
said
this,
they are not casting Johnny Depp
especially on the
in
centrifuge.
Pirates 6 or any other role because of Amber Heard's op-ed?
No.
Are you aware of any decision maker outside of Disney? And by this, I'm including producers, directors, people of that ilk, who have ever said they were not considering Mr. Depp for Pirates 6 or any other movie because of Amber Heard's op-ed from December 2018?
No.
Asafamaran, thank God. Thank you.
All right. Do we?
Even the judge is
How
like,
much
oh, all right, I just want to go
We have
home.
an 11-minute one.
Okay, that's fine. What's your next witness?
Ellen Barkin,
All right.
Barkin.
Thank you.
Oh, this name I heard. This Ellen Barkin. I heard this name.
Good morning, Ms. Barkin.
Good morning.
I think the first thing that would be very short but very simple and clear
Ah,
for the record is if
this
you
is
could
the
just
actress, right?
describe
Ah, this is
kind
the
of
actress
your
that said
career
that-
background. I know it's very lengthy, but just give a kind of
This is the
brief
actress that
summary
said
of
there
kind
was
of
a hair
when
of
you started
violence
working
around
and
Johnny
kind of
Depp
your
on set.
I started acting professionally about 26 or 7. And I did theater, television, movies, lots of them. That's what I did for 40 years.
No, Ellen Barkin was in
and,
Frank and Johnny?
in the
No.
course
Really?
of your career acting in theater,
That was Michelle
television,
Pfeiffer,
movies,
dude.
etc. Did you come to meet a person by the name of Johnny Depp?
Yes.
Can you specify in time, Ms. Barkin, when you met him?
I would say 1990.
And upon or after meeting him, did there come a time when you became friends?
Yes.
And can you describe how that happened?
We just developed a friendship over time that lasted, I guess, if we met in the 90s, maybe 10 years, or a little less.
And fair to say that Mr. Depp at the time was also an actor, a professional actor?
Yes.
Were you, did you act in any film, stage, or TV productions with Mr. Depp?
Yes, I was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
How often would you see Mr. Depp?
When I lived in New York, usually whenever I go to LA, if I were in LA, I'd see him once a week, maybe more. I mean, the friendship went up and down, living on different coasts.
And did there
Lady, why are you looking at me? I have done nothing.
come a time when your friendship with Mr.
Lady,
Depp
snap out of
became
it.
more than that, became romantic in nature?
Yes.
And at what point in time did your relationship with Mr. Depp take a romantic turn?
After I had moved to Hollywood, and he, you know, switched the buttons.
Recall what year you moved to Hollywood?
Yes, 1994.
When you said switch the buttons, can you tell me what you meant by that?
The friendship went from a purely platonic friendship to a romantic one.
At that point in 1994, when the relationship turned romantic,
I was gonna make a
you're
joke.
not-
Change that to
I'm
sexual.
gonna. I would
To
love to
sexual.
make jokes, but I have to watch out.
for how long did your relationship with Mr. Depp remain sexual?
I have to
Several
make
months.
jokes. I can't.
Anywhere between 3 and 5, 6.
And during that period, how often would you see Mr. Depp? That period when it was sexual?
I'd say I'd see him 3 or 4 times a week.
And again, I'm not looking to pry into private details. But
To my house, or I would go to his house.
in both houses in L.A.?
Yes, about 10-minute drive apart from each other.
And at either when you were at his house, where you didn't stay the night, or where you were at his house when you did stay the night, were there other people in the house who saw you there? Who would those people be?
He had an assistant, his sister, that's all I can remember now.
Do you recall the name of the assistant?
I don't know his name. He was referred to as Pig.
He was referred to by whom as Pig?
Johnny Depp.
At any point that you were either initially friends and then sexual with Mr. Depp, did you become aware that
Pig?
he drank to excess?
I was always aware.
Okay, and can you explain how you were aware of that?
He was drunk all the time, a lot of the time.
And that would apply both to when you were initially friends and then later when it became sexual?
Yeah.
And what was he drunk? What was your understanding? What had he drunk to become drunk?
He was a red wine drinker.
She's reminiscing.
Okay. In addition to alcohol,
She's reminiscing.
were
Not
you
everything
aware at
was
that time
bad.
That Mr.
She's reminiscing.
Depp was taking any prescription medication?
No.
Same question, Mr. Barkin, for illegal substances.
Yes.
Same question.
Oh,
And what
come
illegal
on.
substances?
Enough with this character assassination.
Hallucinogenics.
Nobody gives a damn that he used drugs. No one. We just give a
Cocaine.
damn whether or not he
Marijuana.
punched somebody, that there are
Hallucinogenics.
evidence and pictures
Can you say
so that we can
specifically
move
what those
on with
I
our
don't really
lives.
know.
Nobody gives a
He
damn
called me and told
that
me
he drinks
was,
red wine, he pops
tripping.
pills, he's late, I don't care.
With respect to any of that, hallucinogenics, cocaine, or marijuana, did
Oh
you do
my
any of
God.
that in your presence?
Yes.
I mean, did
more
he
than
use
once?
his finger
All
on
the
you?
time.
Was he good?
You say all the
Fine.
time. How
Then
many
keep the good
times,
memory and
again,
let's
the
move
period that you
on.
were both first friends and sexual, then sexual with Mr. Depp. Do you think you saw him?
To massage.
even
Don't,
tell you.
I mean, to
I just know
massage.
he was
Don't
always
misunderstand.
drinking.
Come on. Don't misunderstand.
Or smoking a joint.
But would it be fair to say more than at least dozens of times?
Yeah. Over the full course, oh yeah.
Now,
Guys,
did
I'm
you
joking,
ever
eh?
observe
Those are jokes. Please, don't
Ms. Barkin,
Don't misquote me.
Mr. Depp's behavior change when he drank more or used more drugs?
I did not.
So he was kind of the same all the time, fair to say?
It was not the same. He was high.
Did there come a time, Ms. Barkin, when Mr. Depp
She's
acted in a
reminiscing.
way that
She's
was
reminiscing. It was not all that
out
bad.
of control?
Not everything was bad.
Yes. Mr. Depp threw a wine bottle across the room, the hotel room on one instance in Las Vegas while we were shooting Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Was something about to happen
A fight was going on.
between you and Mr. Depp?
No.
Who was the fight between?
Between Johnny Depp and his friends in the room, the assistant. Honestly, I don't remember.
And the bottle that
you remember it was a
seeing
fight.
Your name is Barkin, whether the bottle was full of wine or empty?
Is
I
it really
don't.
true that he moved on from her to Kate
Sitting
Moss?
here today, Ms. Barkin, do you remember whether the bottle hit you?
No, it did not.
Did the bottle hit anyone else?
No, it did not.
Approximately how far away from you was Mr. Depp when he threw the bottle?
Across the room, so maybe by that break in the table or a little further down. It was a toss.
And
Row.
Lady.
sitting here today, if the bottle had hit you, would it have injured you? Ms. Barkin, was it your understanding back then that
This
he threw the
lady
bottle
gives
at you?
me.
I don't know why he threw the bottle.
And when he threw it, was it in your direction?
Yes.
Were there other people standing around
Thank you, Katerina.
Yes.
So he threw it in your direction at a group of people.
Yes.
Whose hotel room was it?
His Johnny Depp's.
Who broke off?
He did.
How did it come about that Mr. Depp broke off your relationship?
I went to go home. There was a big goodbye, crying, a lot of jealous, don't do this, don't do that. And I never heard from him again after that.
And did
She's definitely bitter.
Mr. Depp not want you to go back to Los Angeles at the time?
Yes, he didn't want me to go. I was only supposed to be there for 2 days. I stayed for longer.
And you just referenced, you just used the word jealous. How did that come up? What did he say that indicated to you that he was jealous?
He's just a jealous man, controlling. Where are you going? Who are you going with?
Oh, she's.
What did you do
she's
last
definitely
night? I had a
sore.
scratch on my back once that got him very, very angry because he insisted it came from me having sex with a person who wasn't him.
During the time that you were in a sexual relationship with Mr. Depp, was it common for him to say things to you about being controlling, to use your words, or being jealous of you?
Yeah, very common.
And when, in these instances, when Mr. Depp became jealous or controlling, did he also become angry?
Yeah. And demanding.
Jealous and demanding.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go
Okay.
and take our afternoon recess. Please do not discuss
good,
the
because
case and do
I
not do
wanna
any
talk
outside
for a
research,
moment.
okay? We'll see you back in
It's
15.
interesting. All right. Rottenborn, don't worry, Rottenborn. We'll pass. Don't worry. He's thinking like, I was so good at throwing the ball when I was a kid. Why am I here? Rottenborn, don't look at me. It's not my fault. Your father did not support you in football playing, and now you're there. That's it. What can I do? Next
All right,
time,
we'll
follow
come
your
back at
dreams.
3:45. Does that give you time to? Okay. All right. 3:45.
All right. There is something like that comes up often, like I have to admit that I hear this thing about Johnny being jealous, having a little bit of jealous behavior. Also today we heard that also from the older friend, the one that played in a band with him, that then they kind of had a rift. But this guy also knew him for a long time with ex-partners. And he said, similar things, like he's a type of jealous guy. All right. This ex-girlfriend, her experience of him was that he was jealous. Okay, I'm going to offer like a point of view. It's just, of course, an opinion. I'm just thinking. Jealousy, in my opinion, can be of several types. Like jealousy that stems from being insecure. You're insecure about yourself, and you start to feel threatened by your attractive girlfriend. You feel threatened because you know that she's attractive and she might attract other people. You feel insecure and you're afraid that she's going to give in into the attention of another man, so on and so forth. Can be a jealousy of controlling, somebody that tends to be possessive, jealousy out of possessiveness. Like there are people which they're a little bit OCD, like they tend to want to control their things, their belongings, their car, their PlayStation, their TV. Where do you put this? Where do you put the clothes? And also in their friendship, then when something enters their life, in this case a girlfriend, they might have this possessive jealousy towards that person. Another thing is insecurity coming from your partner makes you feel insecure with their behavior. You don't feel safe. So I'm just wondering if Johnny is also a little bit of controlling, in that way. That if that jealousy comes a little bit from possessiveness, because in a way, like, I'm not really a jealous person. I've been jealous when I was a teenager, but I had an insecurity, like my first girlfriend, and I never had a girlfriend. The first girlfriend, she was a little bit older than me. She made me feel incredibly insecure because she was always questioning, going out or not was my first experience. She was a little bit like 3 years older than me. Anyway, just to make an example, right? But in growing up, I can say, I'm not jealous at all. I'm not jealous because, I'm just not jealous. I mean, maybe to the extent, like, of course, if I see, if my girlfriend starts to flirt with somebody, for instance, that could probably irritate me, like to a degree or something. That maybe stems some like little degree. So I just wonder also, because you throw this word around, they throw this word around with Johnny. So I also wonder what kind of degree of jealousy was that, Was it jealousy that then he reacted upon, like, hey, watch out who you follow, please don't wear this and that, or he made it even bigger, you know what I mean? It's like he started to be obsessive with it, like, where you going, or when are you gonna come back, like stuff like this, also controlling. So this aspect leaves me a little bit puzzled about Johnny Depp, because I would think, why are you even jealous, man? Why would you be even jealous of another person, It's like you expect somebody a little bit more open-minded that is, but yeah, I don't know. Again, like I said, you have to see what kind of degree of jealousy. Jealousy can be quite detrimental to a relationship. It's not a positive emotion. If it's something light, a slight jealousy, because, like I said, you don't want your girlfriend to flirt with somebody, fine, because of course you care and whatever, like a little bit of jealousy in that way. But that you start to be controlling, that you start to be obsessed, that's a totally different ballpark. Actually, narcissists, they tend to have this type of behavior, because they cannot deal with their own ego, so to speak. They cannot deal with, So yeah, that makes me a little bit puzzled in this way. But then, obviously, I don't know the context. I don't know nothing. I would not expect Johnny to be a jealous guy. You know what I mean? I would not expect him to be jealous in the obsessive way, in the controlling way. To me, actually, it kind of surprises me if that's the case. What does it mean? A voice in the wind. What it means? Stop parsing. I don't know. Actually, I don't know that word. Stop parsing. Doesn't matter. Jealousy. Ownership is not partnership. Yeah, ownership is not partnership. I agree, but I don't understand the first part. Okay, then when it comes to the deposition of this Barkin, actress, honestly, to me, doesn't make much sense because she literally said nothing. She literally said nothing of nothing interesting. I mean, nothing of value. It's just pure speculation. Okay, the guy was in a room and just a bottle flu that didn't hit anybody. We don't know, no contest. We have no freaking idea. And we know that you're a little bit bitter because probably it didn't work very well, you know? And that's fine. I mean, there's always going to be, you know, you're always going to be a little bit more of a douche for somebody, you know? You cannot be perceived by everybody that you meet in the same way. And that's also the case for Barkin, you know? So in that way, as far as the position goes, I have no freaking idea why they even brought her up, because just for the sake of kind of speculating, assuming that because she was with him and she's the only one that she's willing to had some like adjective that have a little bit of a negative connotation to them, like jealousy, for instance. Like as if that would make any point, you know, like, okay, therefore he's always been like that, therefore he was jealous, therefore everything that we said is true here. No, it's not. We didn't care also about this Barkin before. We're not gonna care tomorrow. And again, all they do, it's just, oh my God. Like I said, I was talking of jealousy. I was just pondering. I was just like curious, wondering whether there could be any kind of trace in it. You know, I can understand some level of protectiveness, you know, like some people can be also a little bit jealous because they are a little bit overprotective, but again, that does not have to become controlling, obsessive, compulsive, controlling, stalking kind of behavior. Then it's actually not really good at all, I suppose. But yes, I think towards the end it seems clear that Johnny was ready to move on because he just was fed up with. I actually do believe that his ex-wife had. She was like codependent, you know, like she just couldn't, despite the fact that probably she was aggressive towards him and like we heard many hours of audio and so on and so forth, that probably at the end he just realized, like, I can't do this. I cannot get always into altercations, into heightened arguments that just go on and on and on and on. I mean, honestly, for me, I was just surprised when we reviewed the 4 hour and 20 minutes plus audio. I was just surprised that anybody can sort of argue a point which also is no point for freaking 4 hour and a half. I mean, okay, Johnny was on Xanax twice, so that probably explains why he managed to endure that. I mean, yeah, 4 hour and a half argue, and that's just one. Who knows how many of those probably those guys have had in their time together. So I'm like, Jesus, man, oh my God, how did he manage? And again, that's also in the letter that you just saw before in the other video, you know, the letter of Whitney Boss, that she was also questioning how Johnny managed to stay in their relationship. So yeah, oh my God, so far only character assassination, so far just trying to prove that the op-ed had no effect on Johnny's career, that his career was already kind of over because of his unprofessionality, because of him being late, because of the drug abuse, because of the drinking. So that's what basically today was all about in the scope, in the intent, basically. So and then I'm like, seriously? Do you really think that this guy, if he was never married with this woman, and this woman never published an article saying that her husband beat her up, he would have been fired anyway? I don't think so. Maybe Pirate 6 will not have been as successful as Pirate 5, but then after freaking 6 movie, which other franchise does that, honestly? I checked the franchise of the Beast thing, I forgot the name, the Harry Potter thing, right? I saw the blockbuster, and I think the one with Johnny Depp crossed the 600 million box office, and this new iteration just managed to pass 300 and something million. So literally the half of the one with Johnny Depp in. So I think maybe, I think maybe Johnny Depp, if he was in this one too, maybe he would have made 450 million, maybe. So, guys, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Frank, your face, too funny. I'm with you. Who cares? Thank you for keeping it real. Thank you, Trish. So, yeah, today that's all we have seen so far. And like I said, I'm not here to hate on anybody. We're just covering this trial like many other YouTubers. We are offering our own point of view, which is just wind in the air. Fine, we're just doing it for entertainment. There is no scope in demeaning, diminishing anyone. Every now and then I gotta put the disclaimer in. But of course, it's like a person tragic event, something that it's actually quite tragic. And of course, steers curiosity, and to also try to give it a place and understanding. How far can people go when they're just caught up in their own, whether beliefs or motives, and you just understand how much is what. Now it's safe to say that 19 days into this, it's safe to say that the story doesn't match the evidence. So that still doesn't mean that it's guaranteed that Johnny Depp will win this trial. But from the public perspective, what we hear, and I think this is pretty much, almost unanimous, apart from probably some very extreme activists, which they're just biased towards the cause of Amber Heard by default because they are extreme activists for that type of narrative, for the support of domestic violence and so on and so forth, which is a great cause. But like for any kind of activism, if you're just blindly following, your ideals by default, then it also kind of demerits what you're trying to achieve by being an activist for their cause. So I wasn't against Amber Heard. I wasn't against Johnny Depp. I started to get curious. I just want to understand what it's what. I just want to see if there's a truth coming out of this. And I'm curious to see how far people are willing to go when you discovered that one of them, for instance, is lying. You know what I mean? I think that's probably the interesting human aspect of it. If Amber Heard gets crushed by facts, and the court, for instance, agrees with all the evidence that they've seen that she was lying, that will be interesting to see also what happens next. If Amber Heard, she wins, she's not gonna, obviously she will not back down at all. Actually, she will double down on her accuse and on her victimhood. So we will hear even more of that, which I don't know if the word it's ready for it. So I mean, we might even have to erase some videos or something. Oh man. Oh wow, that's a lot of super chat, guys. Thank you so much for the super chat. Say, Rottenborn is gonna call me to court. Luckily, I even live in another country, so there is absolutely no reach. At least not in this way.
Okay, are we ready for the jury? Oh, yes. Okay, you want to approach with...
I wonder, I do wonder if Amber Heard, if her camp, is going to lose this trial, if somebody can persecute her on the basis of perjury. That's something actually that I'm curious to understand. Of course, I have no background in any way in law, so I don't know, but that's probably something that could be easily understood. I gotta check some of those channels which they are lawyers and they're more law savvy, because that would be very, very interesting. That would be very, very interesting if they can appeal this or there's no appeal anymore. If they can ask, like they did last time, to basically stop the trial, like sort of to withdraw the how you call it, like the sue, basically, right? To erase this whole thing, I suppose. But then I guess that doesn't clarify anything. It just keeps everything the way it is. DJ, that would be a nice movie, DJ. Dr. Hughes should play Amber in a movie of this trial. Dr. Curry should replace Amber in Aquamarine too. Actually, if Dr. Curry is in Aquaman, I'll watch the movie. I think that the Barkin actress, I think she has not only, probably she's also maybe an activist for women cause. So maybe because she was bitter towards Johnny Depp, and because probably she's an activist maybe in that way, and maybe she believed Amber Heard, and she took her side. That's most likely what happened, of course. The same way that probably Helen, I don't think Helen is a bad person, the lawyer here. It's just how it is, like those people, they're not going to be very likable, but at the same time, they're just doing their jobs. They're just doing their jobs. They took on a client, they believed in the client's side, or they believe that they could get paid, because that's also true. Like I said this morning, you get like a trial where an ex-wife is accusing the husband of DV. Then the lawyer's like, oh, we're gonna get paid 99%, we're gonna get paid. So they just jump in. So they do what they do. But maybe Ellen looks like also the type of woman, maybe that she has maybe had a lot of those trials.
Honor, we
you
call
know what I mean? Like maybe
Dr.
she did also to help the cause. I don't know.
Alan Blaustein.
All right.
Blaustein.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, and I'm asking questions first. I believe I may be the only one asking questions.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Can you please provide your full name?
Oh my God.
Alan Scott Blaustein. You're a doctor, correct?
This is Tom Selleck from Wish.
And you're a psychiatrist?
Yes.
How long have you been a psychiatrist for?
Since 1987.
And you went to medical school?
Yes.
What medical school did you go to?
Northwestern University.
Johnny Depp was a patient of yours, correct?
Correct.
You understood that Mr. Depp had substance dependence issues, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what substance issues, what substances Mr. Depp had issues with?
Marijuana.
Oh my
alcohol.
God. Seriously.
Opiates, I
Oh,
believe.
Jesus Christ.
Did you ever have an understanding that Mr. Depp had anxiety syndrome?
Oh, this is interesting.
I knew Mr. Depp had anxiety.
Oh, poor Johnny.
And how did you come to be aware that Mr. Depp had anxiety?
She told me that.
Do you recall having any conversation that Mr. Depp was bipolar?
There was some question about bipolar disorder diagnosis, but I do not remember any specifics about the discussion.
Do you recall having a conversation with Mr. Depp about a bipolar diagnosis?
No.
Oh,
What
man.
behaviors did Mr. Depp acknowledge that should be changed?
Oh, now they're trying to say that Johnny Depp was bipolar.
Certainly
Oh my
his drug
God.
use.
Okay,
and
let's
is
see this.
Turning to drugs to help relieve a lot of the psychic pain that he was experiencing.
In working with Mr. Depp, would you agree that that Mr. Depp had fundamental issues with anger?
I would say that he expressed having issues with anger.
Mr. Depp expressed having issues with anger?
Yes.
Did Mr. Depp express having issues of anger towards Amber?
He expressed having anger towards her. Yes.
Do you recall what reasons Mr. Depp told you as to why he was expressing anger towards Amber?
I can't, no, I'll have to say no.
In working with Mr. Depp, was he ever suspicious of Amber having affairs?
I can recall now he expressed feelings of jealousy, but I don't remember if it was about affairs.
Do you recall any more detail about what Mr. Depp was feeling jealousy toward Amber about?
No.
Oh my God.
In working with Mr. Depp, did you see that Mr. Depp had any issues with patience?
Yes, he was impatient.
What is your understanding about issues that Mr. Depp had with Amber?
It was a very chaotic relationship with a lot of fluctuations and ups and downs and lots of difficulty in emotional expressions and lots of anger in both places and high intensity affect and emotional expression.
Well, so far.
A lot of love, a lot of disappointment, a lot of fears.
Dr. Blaustein, I'm showing you what's been marked as Blaustein Exhibit 3. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
It's my invoice billing document.
Okay. This is from your files?
Correct.
And you keep this document in the ordinary course of business?
Correct.
And this billing invoice is for Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct.
Bing.
And so where it says 10/2/14 from your billing records, would this be is this your understanding the first time you met with Mr. Depp?
Is this guy asking $500 a session or so?
And in total, if we look at the number of sessions you either met or spoke to Mr. Depp that weren't canceled or he didn't show up, my count, it comes to 18 times you met with Mr. Depp. Does that sound about right?
Looks like 18 times.
Did you have any concerns about any of the amounts of medications that Mr. Depp was taking?
I had concerns about the Adderall that I would have expressed to him.
And what were the concerns about the Adderall?
I don't recall the specific conversations, but I would have been asking about how he was diagnosed to have ADHD, or under what circumstances he would take that, especially if he wasn't currently working.
Did you ever talk to Mr. Depp about what he did when Marilyn Manson would visit?
So this guy basically is doing some breaching or something to give this information about Johnny Depp. I find it strange that it's possible.
Did you have any
I think they would
understanding
know
whether Mr. Depp was still abusing drugs and alcohol or not?
Yes.
But you do recall that there were times in your working with Mr. Depp where he had breakthrough uses of drugs or alcohol?
Yeah, that his relative sobriety was not complete, yes.
And that's what you mean by breakthrough usage, that his sobriety, Mr. Depp's sobriety, was not complete?
Well, relative sobriety. Again, I said relative sobriety because he did continue to use marijuana throughout, almost entirely throughout the time that I knew him, with a short time exception, I think. So I called it relative sobriety, then there'd be some breakthrough uses of other substances.
Okay. And when you say breakthrough usage, just so everyone understands, what do you mean by that?
He was trying to be sober. He was working on sobriety. And by breakthrough uses, I mean sobriety would mean the abstinence of using the substance. And so the breakthrough would be on a particular time he would have used a substance that he was trying to be sober of, abstinent of.
Okay. So in addition to marijuana, in the time you saw Mr. Depp from October of 2014 through January of 2015, there were times where Mr. Depp broke his sobriety with drugs or alcohol in addition to marijuana, correct?
I believe so, yes.
How did you come to that understanding?
He would have told me.
Do you know why Mr. Depp stopped seeing you?
I know he was preparing to leave to Australia to go to work, and I assumed that was the reason.
But he hasn't returned to you since he went to Australia in 2015, correct?
Correct.
And did anyone inform you as to why he stopped seeing you?
No.
Last seen Exhibit 9 are notes reflecting your care of Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
And you kept these notes in the ordinary course of business, correct?
Correct.
And you kept these notes in a file for Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
And this is page 1 of those notes from October 2nd, 2014, correct?
Correct. Again, there will be plenty of places where I don't remember, I can't read what they say. They are for my current attention purposes only in these particular notes.
Okay.
And that's what makes them process notes.
in working with Mr. Depp, did he discuss any abuse he received as a child or an adolescent?
Yes.
And do you recall any difficulties that Mr. Depp was talking to you about in his relationship with his fiancée?
No, not from this.
What does it say?
Such a pain in the ass.
Do you recall why he was saying Amber was a pain in the ass?
We all know why.
No.
Okay. And what's the next thing say?
Well, in boxes about his kid's mom.
Okay.
And again, I think I have the word destructive.
What was destructive referring to? You know?
I don't know. No, I don't. Something relationship 14 to 15 years, mother of my kids. Out about officially. He didn't want to be his dad. Thinking I'm not abandoning like his dad. And then below kids, it says clear, better. She needed me to be all this. Needed me to be all this week or all this work. I don't know.
If we turn to the next page, it says page 2.
Yep, got it.
And then what's the next line say?
This violence, rage that we've had over a couple of years.
Okay, and so what is Mr. Depp referring to there?
I don't recall.
So do you recall that in working with Mr. Depp that he spoke about violence and rage in other relationships in addition to his relationship with Amber?
I don't know. In a way, this feels wrong. I know this feels wrong that this guy is telling, his therapy with Johnny Depp. I mean,
remember violence, but
dude, he was your patient.
Remember
This,
rage and chaos. Now again, the context of this is I had met him at this point. So this is an initial telephone consultation.
We're not supposed to know out of your mouth if he wants to tell us, but not out of your mouth.
He was going to start therapy with me.
But in your working with Mr. Depp, was he talking about rage and chaos with relationships in addition to his relationship with Amber, correct?
Yes.
What other relationships was he talking about rage and chaos?
Again, I don't have the specific recollection, but I think it included the mother of his children, and arguments about not child
I'm
custody,
drinking
child
water,
care,
guys,
or
just water.
visitation, or access to the children. On the left, it says raised 2 kids, 15 and 12. And then below that, she tried to protect me. She tried to protect me too.
You know what that's referring to?
Dude, you're doing
My
so much.
association now is his sister, but I don't.
You're doing damage with this.
I don't think it's true. I don't
Everything
have a
without a
specific recollection,
contest, dude.
Wouldn't take fear. Wake up to fight devil. Wait up to fight devil.
You know what that's referring to? Wait up to fight devil?
Oh my God.
I think he referred to a devil as some version of internal depression and chaos that he felt. Something like an everyday phenomenon. He felt he was struggling. And he, I think, would label it as a devil.
So Mr. Depp labeled it's something that was internal to him as the devil?
As a representation of something horrible inside of himself.
This is not good for Johnny's side. This is
So
not
the devil
good.
was something horrible inside of himself, correct? That's what Mr.
Again, I don't think he ever said that, so I'm going to be careful here. The devil was the representation of the battle that he had many days when he woke up with depression and anxiety and fears that he had.
Did Mr. Depp ever refer to himself as a monster?
Remember the word monster in my office, but I don't know if it's referring to himself
Oh,
or not.
Jesus
Maybe
Christ.
that'll be more revealed as we go forward.
Doctor,
Now,
you're doing harm. You're
Turning
doing
to
harm like
Blaustein
this.
12, which is page 4 of this exhibit. And there's a 3 at the top, correct?
Yeah.
And then to the right, it says, that says Amber fiance, correct?
Correct.
And then there's
work through anger just below that.
And where it's saying work through anger, is that referring to his anger towards Amber?
I think what he was saying then is that part of his goal of therapy was to work through anger that he and his fiance had towards each other. Then going back to the left.
Okay, I hope they took a
Better
note
with
of this.
girl about it.
The jury.
Self-destructive, hard to not put in front of me.
Do you know what self-destructive, hard not to put in front of me means? Is referring to?
I think the self-destructive was his drug use. That's what I think referring to at this time.
I'm now looking at Blaustein 13, page, which has a page 4. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And at the top it says Johnny/Debbie, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then the date, it says 10/what?
That's 10/7.
And so it says JD 10/21/14, correct?
Correct. A lot of things, work, intense work, fatigue. Need a minute. Here I can say with certainty his words, shit with my girl.
And what's that referring to?
Difficulty he was having with Amber.
Do you recall what he was talking about, what difficulty he was having with, Mr. Depp was having with Amber?
No.
The next line looks like it says she refuses to accept.
Correct.
Do you know what Amber refuses to accept? What Mr. Depp was referring to?
Nope.
And to the right, it says Amber what?
Amber wedding.
Were you talking at this point about potentially Mr. Depp and Amber marrying?
Yes, he was talking about that. Yes.
Okay. And then what does it say under she refuses to accept?
Wedding February.
And then what's next?
May not want to go to marriage, 51 years old.
Were there any discussions that you had with Mr. Depp where he had concerns about the age difference between him and Amber?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. What does it say under 51 years old?
A lot of life experiences. You're being my mother and psychotic sister.
What did you understand Mr. Depp was referring to where you wrote, "You're being my mother and psychotic sister"?
I think that's something that he said to, he told me, he said to her. That he was.
That Mr. Depp said to Amber, "You're being my mother and psychotic sister"?
That's what I would think, yes.
Okay. Then the next line.
High tolerance for marijuana.
Who has a high tolerance for marijuana?
He did.
All right, turning to the next page, which is Blaustein 15, and where I have a number 5 on the top there. What is it? Self something?
Self-destructive very early.
And was Mr. Depp talking about himself being self-destructive very early?
Yes.
Okay. How is Mr. Depp describing that he was self-destructive?
I don't recall, but let's continue and maybe something's there.
So he was trying to be sober from booze and pills, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then was it you who said reward?
Yeah, I asked him about where can he get rewards elsewhere. Where did he get reward? I maybe asked him where did he get rewards elsewhere, and there he said in the past, MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine.
So what did you understand where you wrote MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine?
I'm just wondering on which legal basis this is possible, because obviously
sure,
it is
but
possible
those are
because
things
it's
that he
happening
used in
here.
the past.
So
There is another possibility that I had asked him
But
specifically
I am
about that, but I
surprised
don't
that
think
it
so.
is.
It's more likely that those were things he had used in the past.
Do you know what pills Mr. Depp was referring to be sober from?
but then again, probably
I know
doctors,
oxycodone
maybe they're
was,
supposed to, because also
the
Dr.
main
Cooper was
thrust at the
here,
time.
right?
And then it says back to the left. It says left off.
Yeah, and that's probably a note to myself to try to get back to. Left off a reward loop mechanism, and it's parallel to a relationship. What kinds of rewards could come back to him that could be healthy? What kinds of rewards that could come from the relationship that could be healthy? And then talk about biology changes. So I made a note to myself there to talk about how the brain changes in the face of many of these drugs over time.
Did you talk with Mr. Depp at all that his brain can change as he continues to take these drugs?
Yes, I did.
And then it says 10/27/14.
More on relationship issues, being accused, in his word, of being manic, grounded by seeing children. Son is one of the positive aspects of the relationship. I assume he's talking about his past relationship there.
Mr. Depp was saying that Amber reminded him of his mom and his psychotic sister.
The relationship reminded him of his relationship with his psychotic sister and his mother, yes.
And Mr. Depp talked about that he was being accused of being manic.
Yes.
Did he say who accused him of being manic?
I assume from this it was Amber.
Turn to the next page, Blaustein 16. Yeah, and this is 10/29/14 at the top.
Mm-hmm. Mood euthymic.
What does that mean?
Attention. Normal mood. Attention decreased.
You mean by
memory
attention decreased?
Difficulty with attention, paying attention. Memory, transitional difficulties.
And what do you mean by having transitional difficulties with his memory?
It would have been part of a maybe mental status test that I would have done in the first session, where he would have trouble holding on to memory of things from 5 minutes ago. If I ask him to remember 3 words, he may have had difficulty. He would have had difficulty remembering those 3 words 5 minutes later after distracting him with other conversation.
Right. And then what does it say after that?
THC, a marijuana, as part of issue, tetrahydrocannabinol. That's what THC stands for.
So you saw THC as an issue with Mr. Depp's memory and attention, is that right?
Well, with the transitional memory, at least, yes. Perhaps the attention. MSE, mental status examination. More present, more attention. Off on dates, when I would ask him about what today might be, what today's date was, perhaps, is what that's referring to.
So Mr. Depp was off on
what date that was.
Date. Turning to the next page, Blaustein 17. It says JD at the top, and then 11, 10, 14. See that?
Yeah, I have that.
Okay. And Mr. Depp came in to see you on 11, 10, 14?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the first line say?
Some clouding, probably secondary to THC.
What do you mean by clouding?
Would have been something in confusion or something about his mental state, or less sharp, less alert, perhaps.
What's the next line say?
It says no evidence of mania, hypomania.
What do you mean by that?
I didn't see in his presentation any evidence of mania or hypomania.
Okay. Next line.
Discussion about relationships, core issues of trust. Amber says contact. Don't know.
Okay.
Fruitless meeting with her therapist.
Did you ever observe Mr. Depp with mania or hypomania in any of your other sessions?
Man, this is so without context that it's pissing me off.
At 10:24:14, Mr. Depp came in for another individual
This guy
session.
is reading from notes
11:24
without any context.
The first line says 15 minutes late.
15 minutes late. Clear. Relationship stabilizing. Looking at jealous parts of him.
My God.
What do you mean by that? Looking at jealous parts of him?
Things that make him jealous and what his role might be in jealousy.
And what made Mr. Depp jealous?
Well, about what was happening there, but with Amber, I don't know. I can't recall. I see in my next notice it was a triggering point. On my next notice, triggering point, early breakup at 22, where an actress cheated with a leading man.
So was Mr. Depp jealous of Amber being with other men?
I don't remember that specifically.
Okay. And turning to Blaustein 18, which looks like it starts at 12:7,
Johnny,
14.
ma chi cazzo t'ha fatta fare? Non lo so.
Mr. Depp came in for an individual session.
Tanta femmina.
Correct.
Tutti sti soldi.
And then it looks like you have paranoia in
Ma chi cazzo
quotes.
t'ha fatta fare? Non lo so.
Would have been his word. And what he meant by that, the elements were fear, envy, and vigilance.
Ti faccio una
So Mr.
sega,
Depp told you something about paranoia.
Well, as he defined it.
And his elements of paranoia were fear, envy, and vigilance, as he told you. Then there's what's the next day? 12, 18, 14?
Yeah, let's see. 12, 18, 14, yes.
And Mr. Depp came in for a session.
Yes. Patient working. So psychotherapy on phone. It says possible there was a phone session that I didn't mark as a phone session. Big fight with girlfriend yesterday. Struggling with how to separate. Let her tell you her feelings. Relationship needs to take care of you. Her to go to a safe zone, withdraw. Different than childhood experiences.
And then it's at 1/6/15, correct?
Correct.
And what do these notes say?
Patient late, 20 minutes. Positive hypnotherapy session. Goals to make a beeline to bed. Using relationship to take care of the individuals. Let's see. Not logical approach to.
Why do you read from the notes? Why are you reading from the notes? It's so damaging.
Take care of emotions.
Because they can give so many wrong impressions.
Sobriety continuing.
And then Blaustein 20.
But obviously also the jury, I think, should be able to see this as,
move down to the last page.
Not definitive proof of anything. It's just reading notes.
1815, correct. Slate, vulnerability, woman in studio who admired Amber. Threat.
What did that mean? What did you understand that to mean?
That probably related to your prior question, that there was a woman who admired her that he felt jealous of. Let's see, the next thing is something of vulnerability. Instances of vulnerability. An internal fear parallel to vulnerability in childhood. Inability. Free or fight, only way.
What does that mean, free or fight, only way?
Free or fight, or free and fight is the only way. And my understanding of that is either to be free of the relationship or fight for it. And positive
this is interesting.
Relatedness with Amber through dash vulnerability.
Did and 1815 was the last time you saw or spoke to Mr. Depp as a patient, correct?
I believe that's true.
Did Mr. Depp describe to you at all how his jealousy would present itself, whether he was jealous of a man or a woman in relation to Amber?
It would make him angry. It would make him feel insecure.
They stopped
Your next witness.
Making him feel insecure.
Your Honor, our next witness is Eric George. He was the attorney for Amber relating to the op-ed.
Oh my God, guys! I think I'm gonna stop this. Honest to God, I mean, another.
Your name for the record?
Sure, Eric George, ERIC. Last name is George, GEORGE.
And could you also state your business address, please?
Oh, please
sure.
don't.
2121 Avenue of the Stars, Suite 2800, Los Angeles, California 90067.
And what is the name of the law firm that you work with?
It's Brown, BROWNE, George, Ross, O'Brien, Anagway, and Ellis.
And you are an attorney, Mr. George?
I am.
And I take it from the name of the firm that you are one of the named partners?
I am indeed.
Okay. What are your areas of practice?
Litigation, largely in the business and entertainment areas.
Have you handled defamation and libel matters?
I have.
Where are you barred? In other words, what states are you a member of the bar?
Sure. In California, New York, and Washington, D.C.
And are you also a member or barred in the United States Supreme Court?
I am.
Can you please tell us where you attended undergraduate and law school?
Sure. At Georgetown for both undergrad and law school.
What, if any, service did you have with the Council of the United States Senate Judiciary Committee?
Sure. I'm just pausing to get my dates correct here. In approximately March of 1999, I began service as counsel to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, where I served through about mid-2000.
And what, if any, service did you have to the Secretary the Legal Affairs Secretary to the Governor, Pete Wilson?
Sure. From about March 1997 to January of 1999, I was counsel to then Governor Pete Wilson, and my specific title was Deputy Legal Affairs Secretary.
Have you been recognized for your career achievements since you have been an attorney?
I'll say immodestly, yes, various ways that lawyers are from time to time in magazines and publications and whatnot.
And what, if any, recognition have you received as one of the top 100 attorneys in California?
The legal paper annually puts out a list of the top 100 attorneys in California.
Oh my God!
To be selected
All right,
as one of
you're
those,
a lawyer. We got the point.
years.
Can we move on to the next?
And what, if any, recognition have you had as being a super lawyer in California?
Same answer, except that's, I believe it's called Los Angeles Lawyer Magazine. I could have that wrong, but again, annually they put out a list of their super lawyers.
The super lawyers.
And are you also a member of the American College of Trial Lawyers?
I am.
What is one of the qualifications for becoming a member, being invited to be a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers?
Sure. So the college reaches out to individual lawyers who have distinguished themselves and generally occupy the top 1% of law practice. And it's an organization dedicated to the development of professionalism within the practice of law.
I'm going to now turn to Amber Heard, and I'm going to ask you, Mr. George, how long have you known Amber Heard?
I have known Amber Heard, gosh, it's got to be a good 5 years.
I'm going to be referring to an op-ed, and I'm going to use the term op-ed.
I mean, they spent like 5 minutes to describe the credentials of this guy every time they. And I'm like, can this be done in another way? I don't know. Just send the curriculum around to the jury or something, you know?
2018. So as I go through and ask these questions, I'm going to be using just the term op-ed. Will you be comfortable with me using op-ed and understand it to mean that particular publication on December 18, 2018?
Sure.
So what, if any, legal representation did you provide to Ms. Heard relating to the op-ed?
She presented to me a draft of the op-ed and asked for my counsel in terms of reviewing it, editing it, and finalizing it for publication.
When is the first time Amber Heard reached out to you in connection with the op-ed and reviewing the op-ed?
It was certainly within the time frame of December 6, 2018.
In connection with the op-ed, what, if anything, was your objective in representing Amber Heard with respect to the review and revision of the op-ed?
I reviewed it and spent some significant time on it to make sure that there would be no meritorious claim that could be brought against her in connection with a defamation or related type of tort claim. And ideally, with that in mind, to minimize the possibility of her ever being sued in connection with publishing it.
So, Mr. George, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 9.
Yes.
Are you familiar with this document?
I am.
Please describe what it is.
As its title, it's a judgment of dissolution of the marriage between Amber Heard and Mr. Depp.
Were you familiar with this document and its contents when you represented Amber Heard relating to the review of the op-ed?
Yes.
And what was your objective in representing and advising Amber Heard on the op-ed in connection with this stipulated judgment of dissolution of marriage?
My objective was to make sure that there would be no meritorious claim that could be brought against Ms. Heard in connection with the publication of an op-ed, whether that is a tort related to, say, defamation or something akin to it, but also including any contract-based breach claim arising in connection with the judgment.
And what, if any indications did you have from Amber Heard during that time frame that Amber did not intend to follow your advice or did not care if she was in a compromising position or might be at legal risk?
So let me answer that this way. Really 2 points. Number one, there was never anything that she said to me to the effect that she was willing to run some risk of being sued or that she wouldn't listen to my counsel or anything of that sort. Number two, that she affirmatively did follow in all instances my counsel with respect to these particular edits.
What, if any, legal advice provided by you to Amber Heard respecting the Washington Post op-ed was disregarded by Amber Heard?
None, to my knowledge.
What, if any, legal advice provided by you to Amber Heard respecting the Washington Post op-ed was followed by Amber Heard?
All of it.
What, if any, legal advice did you provide to Amber Heard in connection with the drafting and publication of the op-ed that was not made in good faith by you?
I acted in good faith throughout and with the best of my abilities.
Oh, thank God.
Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. We have Jessica Kovacevic. She's Amber's agent, and that's approximately 27 minutes.
Go ahead and spell the last name for me.
That's a tough one. Kovacevic.
All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Kovacevic. And Ms. Kovacevic, do you know that you are here today in your personal capacity and also as a representative of your agency, WME?
I do.
Ms. Kovacevic, what do you do for work?
I'm a talent agent.
Would you please describe in just very general terms what a talent agent does generally?
Generally, you procure work.
Generally, we don't want to know.
You
we don't want to know.
make introductions, you read their scripts, you negotiate their deals.
We want to know.
I take it Ms. Heard is one of your clients.
Yes.
Did Ms.
Who
Heard
hate
have a
the
successful
sushi?
career
That's what we want to
at
know.
the time you began working with her?
We want to know
Yes.
And over
who
the period
puked in the
that
elevator.
you worked,
We want to know if
with Ms.
James
Heard as
Franco
your agent,
used
what
a
have your
condom.
job responsibilities
We want to know
entailed?
if she swallowed. That's what we want to know. We don't
Like I
want to
mentioned
know
before,
this.
Introducing her to producers and directors, writers, studio executives, procuring work for her, introducing her to people that can employ her, and then negotiating her deals, and then dealing with whatever happens on while she is working, anything that arises that needs dealing with.
Did you
Nowhere,
ever,
girl. Thank
at
you
any
so
point
much
in
for your
time,
message
see
and the
Mr.
super
Depp
chat.
hit Ms. Heard?
No.
Were you working with Ms. Heard when she was cast in the original Aquaman?
She was cast in Justice League first, and then the deal was to be in Justice League, the first Aquaman and the second Aquaman.
Did you assist Ms. Heard in procuring the role of Mira in Aquaman?
Yes.
Was Aquaman a successful movie?
Extremely.
Was Ms. Heard's performance in the film well received critically?
Yes.
Were there any negative views about Ms. Heard's performance in Aquaman?
In the press, you mean? Or what do you mean specifically?
Well, in the press or otherwise?
No, there weren't any negative.
As her talent agent, did you attempt to renegotiate Ms. Heard's salary for Aquaman 2?
Yes.
When did you do that?
We did that around this time last year.
Why did you attempt to renegotiate it at all?
It's standard to renegotiate these types of deals. It's normal practice. When a movie, when Aquaman came out, it was the most successful movie of all time ever. So even more so for that reason, but for any successful franchise movie, when you make
what are you
a 3
saying?
or 4 picture deal like we did, in
What successful movie for her?
it's typical to go back and renegotiate the deal.
And now getting to your point, why did you choose to do it last year at this time?
Because that's when her option was exercised.
And when you did get around to trying to negotiate, you and WME successful in doing that?
Correct.
When did he call Warner Brothers to renegotiate the next film?
It would have been the end of February last year.
What year was that? 2021?
Yes.
At some point, were there press reports that Ms. Heard was getting released from Aquaman 2?
There were online rumors for a while that she was being replaced.
When did you first hear about
I gotta check the box office of Aquaman for a second.
First, I don't know exactly when, but it was way before. It was way before this. It was maybe even a year before this. 6 months before, maybe.
So nobody ever told you that Warner Brothers
Actually, it's 1,148,000,048. That's actually
correct?
pretty freaking awesome. Not the biggest though.
No, why would they?
Did there come a time when Ms. Heard was restored to her role in Aquaman 2?
Yes.
At that time, what were the terms of her restoration to Aquaman 2?
The financial terms?
Yes.
She was going to be making $2 million on the second film.
Was that consistent with the original contract?
Yes.
Is this consistent with what Warner Brothers originally gave as the rationale for not using her in Aquaman 2?
The lack of chemistry between her and Jason?
Yes.
Yes.
So did there come a time when WME came to understand
Oh,
that
that's interesting, man. This
Ms.
part is
Heard's role
good.
as Mira in Aquaman
No
2
chemistry
was diminished in some
within
way?
the two.
When she was sent the script, directly, which is the common practice for these films.
You're aware that Ms. Heard has a contract with L'Oreal, correct?
Yes.
Were you working with Ms. Heard when she signed that contract?
Yes.
What's a bot?
A bot is a fake account that's created to execute a certain objective.
What is your educational background since high school?
College.
What college did you attend?
NYU,
What year did you graduate?
2005.
What was your major?
Communications.
When WME first began working with Ms. Heard as her talent agent, you said she had had some success. How well known was Ms. Heard?
She was pretty famous. She was within the industry. You could call anyone and they knew who she was. So she had a certain level of fame. She had starred in movies and shows already by that point.
Okay, going back and taking a wider lens, over the time that the several years you've worked with Ms. Heard, how would you characterize the arc of her career?
I would say she was a known actress when I started working with her. Like I said, she was someone that you could call executives and producers and people about everyone, knew her name. She hadn't yet reached big star status, but she was definitely, she could get the lead of an independent movie. She could get the lead of a TV series. When I worked with her, we slowly started to strategically, have her work on some more prestigious projects and work with, better directors. And then when she got Justice League, that was a, turning point for her. And then Aquaman, subsequently, was obviously the biggest thing she had ever been a part of.
And is the arc of her career now on the upswing with her being part of Aquaman 2?
No.
Tell me what you mean. Why not?
Because typically, when you have an actor who is in a movie as successful as Aquaman was, their career totally changes. And they're in a different echelon. They, get way more offers. They're just put in a different place, position-wise with studios. They're more bankable, so they can greenlight projects. All of those kind of things are consistent with when you're in a blockbuster of that size. And with her, that did not happen. It happened, very significantly for her co-star. Obviously, he's the lead of the film and he's the title character, but even a small percentage of that did not happen for her.
Maybe that had nothing to do.
That's my assessment.
With the fact
What evidence sitting
that
here
people
today
didn't care
do you
much
have
about that character. I'm just saying.
This
I'm
caused
just
her
saying.
career any harm?
Because evidence in that, in my experience and the experience of my colleagues in the experience of this business, your career takes a turn after something like that. She was very well received in the movie at the time. Everyone was very happy with her at the time. There was no issues. And then to have a complete downturn after that, and then have that coincide with constant tweets and negativity put out about her. I don't have a physical piece of paper of evidence, but it's the only logical conclusion I can draw.
Can you name a single role she has lost as a result of any activity by Adam Waldman or anyone at his behest?
There was a movie at Amazon that she had been offered with Gael Garcia Bernal. I don't know what the final title of it is called now. I can look it up. It had a working title at the time.
Nobody would have watched it anyway.
Took away from
joking.
her. And,
I'm joking.
The lead actor who was a producer on it very much wanted it to be her and was very frustrated with the process. And no one can say out loud, we're taking this away from her because, of this bad press, because it's nothing she did, and it's all hearsay, and it's all, whatever. But there's no other reason.
Now, Ms. Kovacevic, you've testified a bit about Adam Waldman, correct?
Correct.
And can you point us to any career opportunities that Misheard has lost because of any statements made by Mr. Waldman?
I mean, the Amazon movie, for one, is one that is tangible, because that is an example of something that she had before all of it that was then taken away. I know that a campaign she shot for Todd's via Katie Slater was scrapped and not used. There was not another specific example because, like I said to you, no one is going to say to me, oh, we can't hire her because of these tweets or whatever. They just don't want to hire someone that has bad press around them from, these accusations. No one wants someone who's being accused of a liar and making something up and, abusing somebody. No one wants that association with
to
their
that
project.
extent, she got a little bit of
Directing your attention
her own
10
medicine.
pages into the article, there's another quote from Mr. Waldman.
The husband literally got fired 2 days after
in this article,
from everything. The guy is mega star and he's not
this was
working.
an ambush,
So
a hoax.
obviously,
They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt didn't do the trick. The officers came
she
to the
paid
penthouses,
the price as well a
thoroughly
little
searched
bit,
and interviewed,
obviously.
and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friend spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their stories straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
It just shows the top part of that on this page, but the top part was correct.
Okay. Did any was WME aware of Adam's statement, Mr. Waldman's statements in this particular article?
Yes.
Now, you testified a little bit earlier about there being tweets from Adam. I assume you were talking.
I already want to
referring
switch
to
off
Adam
already
Waldman.
now.
Is that correct?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And what, if any, impact did it have on Amber Heard's career and career path to have Mr. Depp's lawyer putting out statements in the press and in tweets that Amber Heard was lying, making things up, creating a hoax of abuse?
I think that his comments spurred on, it just added fuel to the fire. So there was already so much media coverage.
And that's what you observed?
That's what I observed.
I'm going to take you to Aquaman, and I'll call it Aquaman 1 just to make it a little bit easier to understand. What, if any, performance issues were raised with Amber Heard by anyone that was responsible for the filming of Aquaman?
No performance issues raised whatsoever.
And what was your understanding of how Amber tested with the audiences in Aquaman?
My understanding was that she tested extremely well.
And this is an Aquaman has reflected all the markers of a very successful movie at this point?
Yes.
You testified earlier that it's quite typical when you have a series of 3 to 4 films in a franchise or a series to be able to renegotiate as you go into the sequels. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And why is that?
Because you make the initial deals, before the movie has done, well. And then when the movie overperforms like that, it's a custom.
In light of the success of Aquaman, would you expect that Amber Heard would be receiving endorsements as of this time?
Yes.
And what is the typical process that happens after someone has starred in a very successful movie, such as Aquaman and Amber with Mira?
The endorsement department would a combination of offers and then seeking out opportunities.
Now, given Amber's career trajectory leading up to and immediately after the success of Aquaman 1, did you expect her career to go on an upward, downward trajectory, or stay the same?
I expected an upward trajectory.
And why is that?
Because in success of a film like that, it's usually always the case.
And immediately after the successes of Aquaman, would you have expected Amber's annual earnings to increase, decrease, or stay the same compared to the previous 5 years?
I would have expected them to increase.
And why is that?
Because her profile had been raised internationally. She was in a movie that was successful worldwide. And when you are in a movie that performs that well worldwide, your bankability is stronger. You can finance an independent film more easily. You can greenlight a film more easily. You can just do more and for more money.
Do you recall what the budget was for Aquaman?
The first one, I don't know. It would have been probably somewhere between 150 and 200 million.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you have expected Ms. Heard to continue to earn at least the fee she made on Aquaman on future big budget studio firms?
No.
Or less or more?
You, that becomes an actor's quote, their fee. Yes, typically, like, you will then earn your, not on a tiny independent film, you couldn't make that much money on that, but another studio film, another film at a streamer or whatever, something like that, you would make that much or potentially get a raise.
Other than Aquaman 2, has Amber obtained any roles with a budget the size of Aquaman's?
No.
Has she been hired for any films with budgets over $100 million?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you expect the success of Aquaman and her starring role in that film to increase her ability to get more movie studios?
I swear,
Decrease or stay the same?
The studios,
Increase.
They're not happy to hear this so many
Would you
times, the
expect
name of
her,
their movie into
to get
this
more
trial.
TV
I can tell you
roles?
right now.
Objection.
Yeah. And why?
Why? Because I mentioned earlier in the conversation, TV and films are so blended now, and there's much less of a delineation between picking projects between film and TV.
And did Amber receive more TV roles as a result of Aquaman, the success of Aquaman?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you have expected Amber to star in more than one project per year, less, or the same?
It depends. If it was a big, Aquaman takes up 6 months of the year. Big movies take up a longer time. Indies, you can do a couple of them a year. It just depends. So I wouldn't put a number on it, but definitely more than 0.
And has Amber starred in more than one project per year since then?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, did you expect Amber to earn between $5 and $10 million a year for the next 5 years?
I would have expected to renegotiate on Aquaman 2, most certainly. And so right there, that would have been significantly more. And she would have...
Coming.
Yes, I would have expected her to earn more in a combination of TV, film, and more endorsements.
Was it your understanding that WME passed on to L'Oreal suggestions to assist them in being able to block some of the harassing Instagrams they were getting at that time?
Yes.
All right. Let's bring up 30 again, please. Now, did in fact L'Oreal suspend having Amber Heard on the International Women's Day campaign?
Yes.
What the conditions were for the renewal?
It didn't work, the camera?
It was just essentially that they were renewing her. It was the same fee. That was the bulk of it. It wasn't, like a raise, but they were extending her.
Okay. And typically coming out of the success of Aquaman, would you have anticipated that Amber could have negotiated larger fees for commercial projects?
Yes, we would.
Okay, and why would that be?
Here we go, we're back on.
Because her profile had been raised. She was, she had done something super successful. So typically that's what you would do. That would just be the standard practice.
When did you first learn about the change.org petition that was out there to try to get Amber Heard dropped from Aquaman 2?
I don't know when I first saw it.
Were you aware of it as of May 27, 2020?
Yes.
You earlier talked about bots in response to one of Mr. Chu's questions. What, if anything, was your understanding of these bots at this time, during this time frame?
my understanding is just based off my own, mainly based off my own research, just clicking on the accounts
By the way, guys,
myself,
if you're not subscribed,
and then discussing it amongst
consider
the
subscribing.
team.
And what did you learn when you did that?
Just as I would go through, daily, just looking at comments or, just the negative comments, clicking on them. Many of them were just kind of accounts made for this kind of commentary, or just accounts that just had, no followers, no posts, nothing, or following just Amber and Johnny, things like that.
Oh my God. So what have we learned today?
And I'm sorry. And so, what did you learn from clicking onto those that led you to believe they were bots?
They weren't consistent with what I know to be actual Instagram accounts.
When you look to set a career trajectory for an actor who just broke out in a major franchise film, would you look to other comparable actors' careers to ascertain what type of acting jobs they could get?
I mean, I've been doing this job for, quite some time, so I don't necessarily look to one or the other, but in general, when someone is in, what was at the time the most successful film ever released, the natural progression is growth and more films, more work, more money, all of that stuff.
And when you say the most successful film ever, you're referring to Aquaman 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are comparable actors' salaries used in your mind to ascertain the asking price for an actor in a similar film? Are comparable actors' salaries used in your mind to ascertain the asking price for an actor in a similar film?
Yes.
Would you consider Ana de Armas' career to be comparable to Amber's in measuring where Amber would have been after Aquaman 1? Should have been.
Ana de Armas, yes, I would say that would be a comparable, that would be a good comp.
What? Did she mention Carrie Ann Moss?
Is that what you have for today?
That's it.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our day and the end of our week. So I want to make sure you have a good 3 days and come back for our last week of testimony and enjoy your weekend. I just want to remind you again of what we need to remember as we go through the weekend, okay? So you're not to read anything about this case. You're not to watch anything about this case. You're not to listen to anything about the case. This applies to television, newspapers, magazines, the internet, and any online sites. Further, you're not to read, watch, or listen to anything about this case on any social media networking site or streaming
Judge,
service.
you can talk to
In
me,
addition, you
Judge,
must not
please.
communicate
Let's
with anyone
talk to
about the
each other,
case, whether
Judge,
in person, over
please.
the phone, by email, text, or
I
instant
want to talk
messaging,
to you.
or by any other electronic or non-electronic means. This includes your fellow jurors, friends, family, co-workers, acquaintances, and strangers. I also instruct you that you cannot
I'm
do any
not a
research or
stranger,
inquiries
Judge,
about this
please.
case, whether online or by any other means. For example, you cannot look information up on the internet that is related to this case or related to the persons involved in this case, nor may you consult dictionaries or other reference materials. What you learn about this case is limited to what you learn in the four walls of this courtroom when proceedings are underway, all right? So enjoy your weekend. We'll see you early, 9 o'clock, ready to go Monday morning, okay? Thank you. All right, and also in this matter, Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, please do not do any posts on social media over the weekend and no public statements, please. All right, and we will see you on Monday morning. As for the attorneys, 8 a.m. tomorrow. I thank you for all the jury instructions, objections. We're going through those now. I appreciate that. I am missing some exhibits from depositions that we need to get, so if you get with Jamie so we can get those and get them all taken care of for the week. Another thing that I'm doing, just to give you information, I'm getting IT together to do a laptop for the jurors for deliberations. The laptop is going to be scrubbed, and it's just going to have the audio and the video files on them. Okay, so they're going to get me a mock-up by Tuesday. It's not going to have any Wi-Fi or internet or no password, so it's just going to have that on it. So once I get it and I approve it, I'm going to have both parties take a look at it and make sure everything is on there. That's supposed to be on there, and that's going to go to the jury when the physical evidence goes to the jury.
Okay, interesting.
Okay? It just seemed like that was a better way to do it for the audio and the video files, okay? As far as times go, I can
that's
give you
nice. So
updated
maybe the
times
jury can
as of
hear
this minute.
to the entire clips. That would be a really good thing.
Plaintiff has used 42 hours and 45 minutes. Defendant has used 53 hours and 1 minute.
Wow, that is a lot of time.
So the time remaining for the plaintiffs is 18 hours and 30 minutes. And the time for the defendants is 8 hours and 14 minutes. Okay? So anybody have any other issues before we're done for tonight?
No, thank you very much. Not at this
All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Yes?
Thank you,
Okay,
Amy.
So they do also something tomorrow, but probably they don't televise it, I suppose. So Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp. What happened? Why you do this? Why can't we see like just the people leaving? That's the nicest part of today, Law and crime. You're pissing me off like this.
Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. Johnny Depp's attorney takes...
All right, guys. I mean, today was a very long day. It was a very long day. Honestly, I don't know if it was any good for Johnny today. The only good thing that I heard so far is that Humber Camp almost used all their time, so I suppose next week maybe we get a little bit more Johnny stuff going on. Was interesting also to hear that the juries, they will get a laptop with all the files, everything. So that's interesting, because if the exhibits are the full audios of those clips that we heard, that's actually pretty interesting, because the full audios will give definitely a different perspective to what was happening. So I hope that's the case. I might be wrong, I don't know. If they will see only the clips that were shown or the entire audio. So that's actually quite interesting. That could be a big thing for the jury, really. Like the way we did, if there are similar, some of the audios that we have heard in full together on the channel, and the jury will go through them with their own time, for instance, to deliberate, I think that's a very big thing to make a decision, because in those audios, in through their full length, there is much more information. I think there is much more information than this charade from both parties in trying, the usual leading, the character assassination, a lot of stuff out of context, exes which nobody cares of, which they're trying to insinuate something. So I actually think that if the jury gets their hand on all those exhibits, especially the audio, probably it's better. So yes, Johnny Depp has still 18 hours, and the other camp has still 8 hours to go. So guys, if you haven't seen the video of the letter from the ex-boss of Amber's sister Whitney, where it reveals a lot, that's actually very, very, very interesting letter. I wonder if there's going to be some movement around that. That was really, really interesting today to discover that for me. So guys, I'm gonna try to do a video, see if there's any interesting memes now, so we can do a quick meme video just for the sake of But today was absolutely a boring day, honestly. I mean, I'm just curious to see if already the memes, they will reflect this absolutely boring day. But again, I don't go away from today with the feeling that I know more. Let's put it that way. You know, apart from actually the letter that I discovered, that's the thing that really gave me more information, much more than this whole day of trial, you know? So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I'm talking for the jury, of course. For me, the letter and the video that I made is much more important. Seems like there's much more truth in there. So it would be nice to see if this woman that wrote the letter to Whitney, the ex-boss, she will come forward again, you know, like, but then again, it's just information for us, not for the jury, not for the trial, because I don't think they will have access to it anyhow. So I think that's what it's going to happen. So guys, first of all, I want to thank you. We're still 4,000 people in the chat. I'm really grateful. I'm just gonna stop this. I'm gonna stop this live chat. I give a brief look to the memes and try to understand if I can do like either like maybe a live of the meme with a recap of the day, or I just do the video and I come back online. So I just want to thank you again for being here. I just want to thank you for all the support, for the super chats. I try to keep this a little bit lighthearted, try to make a little bit of commentary, comedy, just to have a laugh here and there. At the end of the day, we just want to know the truth. And let's hope that gets a little bit more interesting next week, because I feel like my testicles have shriveled after a day like this, you know? That's not a good feeling. That's not a good feeling. So guys, again, I want to thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. All right? Take good care, guys. Have a good night. Let me stop this, otherwise we get reruns. And I'll see you in a bit in another video. Go check the video of today. Don't forget to check the video of today of the letter. I think if you haven't watched it, you will find that very interesting. You will find a lot of valuable information in there. So if you haven't watched it, go watch that. I think those are better information to finish the day if you're done with this trial for today. All right? Thank you so much, guys.